signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries, minutes approved. Alright, if we could take, we've got, number one here is forestry request to utilize funds from Park and Trail Development Fund for ATV trail approach paving.
Yes, so we got a grant, a year or two ago to do some paving approaching County F on the ATV trail on a couple crossings. The cost for that went way over. Not sure why, highway department did all the work. $3,000 was provided by the ATV club as part of the agreement to get the grant in the first place. So they provided their $3,000, and we need another $2,662.53 to cover the cost.
2,600.
Yep, 62 and 53 cents.
Thank you.
This committee is the oversight committee for the Park and Trail Development Fund that we have. So I'm requesting to transfer that amount to the grant. I believe it has to go to the grant and then from the grant to the highway department.
Transfer out from the, keep all the expenses in the grant budget, just so that the total project cost is kept together, and then just do a transfer from that Park and Trail Development Fund into the grant budget.
Yes, and then from there to the highway department for their work.
What was the total cost again?
Total cost $7,369.91.
They're asking for the 2,600
Just to transfer from,
from Park and Trail Development into, yeah, cause you guys have the oversight of that budget. And there's currently, about $69,000 in that fund.
How much?
Almost 69,000.
somebody care to make a motion to approve the transfer of 2,600?
Anything else we're planning on spending that on at the moment, it'll.
No, we did budget for some projects for next year.
That'll be this year's funds, right?
Right, yeah. We budgeted for almost 50,000 next year. Can't remember specifically what.
It's a carries forward.
Right, but we budgeted for some expense, I think, just in case
Yeah.
there, a project
Yeah, I
arises.
quite remember.
There's 60,000 in that fund?
$68,738.35.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I've got a motion by Phil, is there a second?
Nothing.
Second by Tony. Any other discussion, questions? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, and we'll take a couple more for forestry here. We've got update the financial procedures manual.
So, in your packet, I added an email in here, the changes that Jared's proposing were not in the email that the financial procedures manual changes that I emailed earlier. Jared asked for this today. So, this is there's some highlighting on the back side. What I highlighted are the changes that Jared's proposing. It's in relation to, bid openings, that, having the check deposited the same day isn't always feasible, because sometimes the bid openings happen, later in the evening. So just, changing some of the wording there. And sometimes even the winning bid isn't deposited, because they'd rather have the check back and make their performance bond in another manner.
We've never had a problem before.
Well, I don't
We-
know that we're
We
necessarily
haven't
following.
we haven't had a problem, but we haven't been following the procedure. So if we wanna follow the procedure, the way it's written is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure if I have it written out the best or what, but I think it would be feasible with those changes.
Depositing
well,
same day.
yeah, and we'll cover the rest of the updates to the financial procedures manual later, but just wanna bring this up now in case you guys had questions for Jared.
Mean any hardship? I don't
hardship.
hardship?
It's,
Same day, it's slow.
well, it's same day, and that's what that's what the policy currently is same day, and so this is changing that. Because it is a hardship to do it the same day.
Okay, so we'll change it from the same.
Right.
No, within 5 business days, is that it? Okay. So do we need a motion to?
I don't know that we need a motion right now,
Cause it
It's,
was.
Or are we gonna piecemeal it, or are we gonna just approve the whole changes all?
yeah, we'll just approve the changes all together, and you guys have the authority to make minor changes to the financial procedures manual without going through full county board, but because we have so many changes, once we do go through all of the changes, we'd like to take the whole financial procedures manual to county board. So,
Yeah, and I became aware of these changes happening to this chapter potentially here today, so I was like, well, wait a minute, we might as well address these other issues too. So I just first brought this to her today. I just threw 5 days out there, it's always the next business day, you know? And we sit down and go through things, we can get the checks back, but 5 days, I guess, gives us
Just in
a little
case.
wiggle room in case Heidi or whoever's in that chair is, you know, out sick or something.
so if you guys are okay with it, I'll add these into the changes, but just because it wasn't included.
I don't see any problem, you know,
Okay.
to.
The other thing is that last sentence that's got some highlights in it, is that a little bit redundant?
Shall be deposited or held and returned or deposited. Or the or
Or
deposited.
deposited in there twice, or am I missing the meaning there?
Well, I think the intent was that because it's either shall be deposited and returned, but
Should say deposit held or returned on the date of the decision? Is that the intent that you need in here?
I don't even remember what I wrote.
okay, so it says if no decision is being made at the meeting, checks shall be deposited, and you added or held and returned, and you added or deposited on the date of the decision. So like, I think that it's or deposited on the date of the decision, so like, if it's not deposited at the meeting.
Yeah, cause you're not gonna deposit them right away if no decision's made at the meeting, either way, your intent is to hold them until the decision's made,
Yeah,
so then that should be tweaked a little bit.
sure.
So it shall be deposited, comma, held, and or returned on the date of the decision. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
We're not improving it anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw deposited in there twice, and I'm okay, am I missing
Yeah.
it?
I'll update it here, and then once we bring it up on the screen later, I'll have the.
Okay, and the other thing that Jared has here is out of county travel for forestry, BMP monitoring, Clark County.
So this is just here because they're sending more than one person to the same out-of-county travel, so that requires your guys' sign off.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by who?
Phil?
Phil. Second by Jim. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries, so.
And then there's one more, that the addendum.
Addendum.
Yeah, I kinda added it to the bottom of the agenda that I just handed out, just, well, or not, sorry. Yeah, this is just this one thing. This is the addendum right here.
Oh, okay. I didn't-
Yeah, sorry, I kind of
Alright.
just snipped it in there, so it was on one page for your guys' attention.
Amend creation of public trails ad hoc committee resolution. What are we, what was it and what are we looking to amend it to?
So, remember before when we created the ad hoc committee, we agreed to give the guys per diem for meetings, the same as county board gets. But being that the ad hoc committee is going around and inspecting all these trails, and we're requiring them to drive a lot of miles to do this, I'm requesting that the resolution be changed to, that they'll receive a per diem, we'll receive mileage reimbursement for the IRS rate, and we got a separate resolution for that as well. That way, we're not discouraging, because I mean, if you put on a bunch of miles to look at trails, and you're not getting reimbursed for it, you're gonna look at less trails. trails to be looked at in order to be in compliance with PMPs and everything else, so that we don't lose our carbon credit money.
Why do we have this group checking trails? Why isn't our staff doing that?
Cause they don't have enough time. They do a lot of timber sales and stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about it, and I think Ashley and Rich kind of echo those same concerns because, you know, we have people that aren't necessarily certified and qualified to be going out there and inspecting trails that it could create a liability with the DNR, with going through wetlands or potentially trout streams, that sort of thing. These people could be going onto active timber sales that they're not trained for or equipped for.
The resolution that went to the full board, the intent was they were gonna be inspecting trails at the time.
I don't know that that was made super clear because it was, you know, if they're gonna be inspecting trails, then they're really not being treated as an advisory.
That's how they make their decisions on these trails. You can't make it without going out there and looking at them.
Right, but I think that maybe we need to look at having the forestry department go out there and do it, or a contractor that's actually certified to be able to do these inspections.
I think they should make a recommendation to the forestry committee, have the forestry committee or department go look at them, see if what they want is what's needed.
Right, because we
You
run
know,
into,
for 10 people to go out there and look at a trail and say, we need more gravel here, we need a culvert here, that ain't gonna fly, I don't think.
and then I have a lot of insurance questions too. I mean,
Okay.
workers' comp, if we've got, you know, usually for committee board members, we're paying a very low workers' comp rate. This is going to astronomically increase the rate that we would have to pay because they're no longer like a clerical board member type rate. We're talking forestry, which is, you know, 100 times the rate of what we would pay for a board member. You know, vehicle insurance, are they using their ATVs? You know, do we need to make sure that their, vehicles and their ATVs carry the proper insurance on them? And could this potentially be jeopardizing our certification because, you know, we have people out there that are doing this that aren't necessarily qualified to do it?
I'm just gonna tell you, if we don't have the public trails ad hoc committee looking at trails, we're gonna lose a couple $1 million in carbon credit money.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't have the advisory committee, but I'm saying it should be treated as an advisory committee where they are advising, not actually performing the work.
I didn't realize that this advisory committee was gonna be an ongoing thing. I thought it was to advise as far as setting up
The
this
signage.
trail system and then.
I thought it was,
Yeah.
I thought it was short term too, I guess, I'm with you. I thought it was shorter term, I didn't know we were gonna keep it going forever. I thought it was to get us on board with the DNR.
But how can we lose carbon credits just because we don't have the advisory crew for the trail inspectors?
I will let you guys talk to the public when they show up and say that if we don't have a say in what goes on in the trails, that you guys make that decision, but
But I'm not saying.
they'll be upstairs in the second floor room like they were last time. This was an attempt to bring both parties together.
Right, and I'm not saying we should get rid of the advisory committee, that's not at all what I'm saying, I'm just saying that they should be treated as an advisory committee and providing advisory services, not out there actually inspecting and making determinations based on their inspections of whether or not a trail should be open.
So when this was brought to the board, part of the idea was that they would help with the inspections so that they can make recommendations to the forestry committee on these. And they've been doing that every single month since then. They've been inspecting trails.
Why do they have to inspect
But I-
them?
Because there's different all the trail, in order, according to our new ordinance, and that's why I said, even when the ordinance came up, I won't vote on this ordinance without this in place first, so that the public can have some say. They can say, okay, we looked at these trails, and yeah, we agreed, the last meeting we were at, they said, hey, we looked at a trail, we didn't find it in compliance, so we didn't open that one. So,
That advisory committee is not responsible for opening up the trails or closing them.
They make the
They
recommendation to
make
the
a
forestry
recommendation,
committee.
that's totally different. I think a lot of these recommendations come out of the snowmobile and TV clubs. I mean, they're on these trails and they know where the bad spots are. In fact, they're the ones that are complaining, at least when I was in forest.
We're talking about logging trails, though, not.
Well, I understand, but
built
they
ATV
run the
trails.
walking trails also.
I'm just saying that we hire people for their skills, knowledge, and expertise. These people that are on this committee are on it because they're passionate about it, and that is great, and they should be providing advisory services, but the people that are actually making the recommendations on whether or not a trail should be open should have the skills, knowledge, and expertise to know if this goes through a wetland, if this goes through a trout stream. This is an active timber sale, what kind of PPE do you need to be on an active timber sale? That's my
And
concern.
that's why
from it.
even at when we talked about it before, the reason we did the 1, 2, and 3-year appointments, because we knew it was gonna take some time to train people in to take a look at stuff, because this is not something you're gonna learn overnight, it's gonna evolve as things go on as they learn. So we're like, we don't want everybody learning it, and then all 3 of them in 3 years, say everybody on the committee says, I'm done, and then we gotta retrain a whole new group.
But now, what you're talking about training, that's what we do for employees, and these are not supposed to be employees, they're supposed to be advisory committee members.
Yeah,
They were
was
charged
under
with
the impression there was
inspecting
a
trails.
sunset to this group. And I thought the sunset had already passed. And that was when we opened up the trails for, there's certain trails that could be closed and certain ones that are open.
So,
And I
if,
thought that was done.
okay, so if everybody thinks this was temporary, the original resolution says, be it further resolved that interested members of the public may submit a letter of interest that reviewed for Rusk County Forestry Committees will serve 3-year terms with a staggered rotation. Initial appointments will have members serving 1-year term, 3 members serving 2-year terms, and 2 members serving a 3-year term. If that was temporarily, why would we appoint them to 3 years?
When did we do that resolution?
Yeah, I get it, it was a while ago. May. So, yeah, I might not remember that long ago, but being this was a hot topic in forestry, I remember pretty.
I remember at the time it being a very hot topic, yes.
Yeah. And the reason it wasn't at the board, you notice that support when the ordinance passed, the only thing we got was a letter from somebody who showed up before and said, hey, I support what the committee's been doing. Based on their involvement in checking these trails out.
I get what Randy's saying too, we did, obviously we passed it, but it seemed like when it started, I thought it was gonna be a short-term deal, and obviously we.
There was an ad hoc committee before that, that's probably what it was. So before that, the first time the ordinance came to board, we said, let's send this back to committee, have them create an ad hoc committee that comes together with an original map. In the process, when we're going through it with the DNR, they said, you gotta field verify, is that what they said? Have these trails been field verified? There's like, I can't sign off on stuff I haven't field verified. So we're like, well, we can't have the foresters running around full-time inspecting trails when they got logging stuff to do. Could take them a couple of years to go through everything, and this kept the public, so they felt like they had a say in the forest as well. So the new ad hoc committee was created after they came together with an original map. The original ad hoc committee was the one that, was before this one, that was a temporary. They came together with a map. This is according to the best of our knowledge, we think these are the trails that should be open until we have chances to go field verify. This is just based on, maps they got from like Nick Standek and stuff like that. But they didn't actually field verify these. In the process of coming up with the ordinance and everything else, you gotta actually go out and field verify this type of stuff. So that's when we created the second committee. So I think that's what the confusion is. You're probably thinking of the original committee, cause that was.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
When was this, what's your?
This one was
when
in
that?
May.
But doesn't the title say ad hoc? Okay, so doesn't that mean like temporary or that it was sunset?
But to a 3-year term. I mean, the language is if the title of the resolution was wrong, I would say the language in the resolution specifies a 3-year term, which doesn't sound temporary to me.
I don't recall that, 3-year term. I don't think I'd have voted for it, but maybe
Yeah,
I did.
I didn't see this resolution prior to it coming to county board, because I think initially it didn't have any sort of fiscal impact. But then at county board, the per diems got
Okay.
added in.
At county board, yeah, cause originally we didn't have anything on per diem. And then at county board, at county board, it was, that's where the.
When was that one passed?
He said May.
May? I think we're creating something, we created something that we don't really, shouldn't have.
I mean, it's very conflicting because, you know, we're paying them consistent with board members, but then we're kind of expecting them to do work that, like employees and, there's a lot of red flags.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, ultimately, forestry committee is, or forestry department, is the one that determines whether the
So it
road
also,
is logging roads need work or don't need work or not.
so in the language here it says,
Also, be it further resolved that this public trails ad hoc committee is charged with conducting field verification, which was made very clear during the county board meeting that they would be going on the trails and doing field verification.
But there's nothing in there about reimbursing them for doing the field.
There's not, and that's what I'm asking for today. Can we we're asking them to go out on all these trails, can we reimburse the mileage?
I'm thinking with what, Jamie's got a good point, I don't see how we can, I think that's going down a real slippery slope. I wouldn't mind doing it, but I just, from a liability standpoint, I think it's a
There
big
you go.
red flag.
We're putting a lot of responsibility on these guys that aren't, I wanna say, what are they looking for?
Jared, is there any way you guys could be performing these inspections and actually taking care
Yeah,
of?
so I've done a lot of thinking about this in the last day or two, because this came up. You know, initially, it was the thought that we had to inspect every mile of Woods Road, which is, you know, I forget the number, 200 or 300 or 400 miles. And then, and yeah, I didn't have the staff or the ability to get that done in a matter of a couple months before the implementation of the ordinance. At this point, I think I can probably put together a plan where it would be similar to forest recon, where we're reconning the trails, not all of them, but, maybe 10% or something yearly. And that would be a lot easier to work into our yearly work plan. You know, does that make sense?
If there's a problem with.
Short
the trail,
answer is
you're gonna know
perhaps
about it.
we can.
Someone's gonna tell you anyway, won't they?
Say it again.
If there's a tree over the trail or something like that, they're gonna tell you about it anyway.
Yeah, certainly, for sure, they can
Or
certainly
culverts washed out or
let us
something.
know anything, and we can go look at it. That's what happened on that. Well, we had a recent issue on a timber sale, and that's the first we heard about it was from one of those members who heard about it from someone in the public, so we went out there and shut that down, but.
So this is-
They're certainly valuable as advisory, for sure, and they're valuable for inspections as well. If you wanna get into the weeds, I think, maybe we can put together a plan to do inspections in-house based on their recommendations, I don't know.
What is that ad hoc committee, how often do they go out and inspect?
I think,
Twice yearly or something, or what?
Mostly every month they would, because there's a lot that hasn't been inspected yet, right? So they're trying to get all the initial inspections done, right? Once it's going in the future, there won't be as many inspections needed, right? Like you said, you know, maybe 10% or, you know, keep up on it. But the initial, in order to open trails, requires a lot of traveling to get them. As this resolution stands, though, they are charged with inspecting trails, so somebody would have to go to full board and rescind that.
So they go out and inspect the trail and then they report it back to the forestry department?
They report it back, they have a committee meeting, and then they bring it to the forestry committee with their recommendations. We think this trail should be open, we don't think this trail should be open. look
Okay.
at this one.
No, let's back up a second. Isn't this also usually to their benefit to inform us of these trails?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a lose-lose for them. We've got a committee here now going. They have some skin in the game, they got some say in it. They've helped us a lot, but they've also benefited from it too, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's come a long way, but I just open this thing up to just
I do it more.
Free Willy with how many miles that can be turned in and everything else, I don't know. How are you ever gonna put a lid on something like that one?
I do more
See this getting out of
volunteer
hand.
Real quick.
It should be, if they want to start doing it twice a year, so.
And I'm not saying anybody's gonna purposely abuse it. Their idea of what needs to be inspected might be totally different from what we need, what Jared needs to meet his needs for the state.
Yeah, I mean,
And then that would be another issue you'd have to,
Do you feel that there's been any excessive trail inspections coming up at the meetings yourself? Like I don't think they're inspecting more trails than need be.
no, I mean, I don't think they inspected,
But have they been
Yeah.
going on to active timber sales in the name of these inspections when it creates a safety hazard
yeah,
or potential
Yeah.
liability for the county?
Right, and they're not wearing hard hats out there, they could be injured, and we don't, as Jamie said, have the appropriate work comp on them because they're seen as committee members.
We're opening ourselves wide
Yes.
open.
I guess,
So what would it take, what
What's the
would it
reason-
cost to add them to the liability? Is there a chance to look into that? I get you don't have the answer right now.
Well, we'd have to pay the higher workers' comp premium on them, but that would, there's a minimum amount that we have to pay on, board members, committee members. So you have to pay it based off of at least $1,600 worth of compensation. So if they don't have $1,600 worth of compensation, we still have to pay those premiums, which for a normal board member, you know, it's like 0.2%.
Right, cause
And
I'm
we're
not gonna
paying-
get hurt walking from my car to the
Right.
building.
But when you're talking somebody out there in the woods, cutting down trees,
But
doing
they're
this.
already charged with that, so, and yes, we.
But I'm just saying that really probably should have never happened, because committee members are not supposed to be doing day-to-day activities, they're supposed to be serving in an advisory capacity. And there's a reason why we hire people with the skills, knowledge, and experience. You know, they didn't have to have any sort of credentials in order to get onto that committee, they just had to have an interest in it, which is great. But we have the people, we have the ability to hire contractors if our staff does not have that time. I think from a liability standpoint, from the county as a whole, not just from our liability insurance, we should be doing that. We don't wanna risk DNR fines because so-and-so decides to open this trail that goes through a wetland because, hey, I wanna be able to get to this spot, my friends wanna be able to get to this spot, when there's other components to consider here.
so we have two options here. As the ordinance stands, they are permitted to inspect the trails, which means we need liability insurance on them. Otherwise, it needs to be rescinded. I would vote to continue with the resolution and not rescind it.
Well, it stands now, I think they're volunteers, they're not. I mean, they don't have any necessarily official capacity. They make recommendations, but they don't have an official
Right,
capacity.
what Jamie's saying is if they're, because they're charged with going out in the woods and inspecting these trails, which was voted on by the full board, we need liability insurance on them.
Well, the thing of it is, that as a volunteer, they're no different than somebody's out riding the trails for pleasure. We're gonna carry liability on them too.
No, we do have volunteer insurance, that's a separate policy, but if we're now compensating them for going out there to do this, that's a different story.
So if we're telling them to either way, even if we're not reimbursing them the mileage, I feel like we're kind of in the same boat, though, you know?
Yeah, I think that resolution probably should be updated to put them into an advisory capacity rather than actually inspecting the trails.
I don't agree, but I guess if somebody else wanted to bring that to board and rescind it. But as it stands right now, if this doesn't get rescinded, you think it's best to put liability on them because they're inspecting trails.
Well, we have no choice. But where's that money gonna come from? Because should it be charged to county board when that's not what they're the capacity they're operating under? Their per diems for their actual meetings gets charged there, but
Put something under forestry.
Well, either way, any way you look at it, if they're gonna pay them, it's gonna come out of the county budget, one way or another. It's gonna reduce the amount of levy money that comes back, offset on the budget.
Here's one thing we're forgetting, all of these people that are involved in this are very, I would assume that they're very avid trail riders.
Right.
Why can't they inspect the trails and bring back the information they see when they have their meetings?
Cause they're
From
going on trails
on their normal,
they're going on trails they wouldn't normally go on, cause they consider themselves doing a service to the community, and they're going out and doing other trails that they wouldn't necessarily go down, but somebody might ask them and say, hey, can you inspect this trail? And they say, I will inspect this one.
but they're going into logging jobs, that's a whole, that's something that should not be happening.
I mean, we have Dustin Thompson that comes in and works with the guys to make sure that we are in compliance with safety regulations and everything like that. These volunteers, or these, not volunteers, these ad hoc committee members are not getting that same training. Nor do they have the education behind any of this, and maybe they do, but,
A lot of these people, but there are some that had a lot of experience on that board.
We're gonna hire a part-time person on forestry.
Well, the other problem we got there, if they're gonna go out and inspect trails with their ATVs, you're gonna pay them the government IRS rate for that.
Well, we could limit it to the mileage to get there, to haul their ATV there.
well, but IRS, that we're not in compliance with the IRS if we're paying them to drive out there. Your first and your last trip of the day are not reimbursable under IRS guidelines.
We can't pay them IRS rates for an ATV.
I think we should give them something for getting out there.
Until you pay them anything, they become like an employee.
Maybe we should pay them hourly to do this then, maybe we should make them employees.
We're gonna supply ATVs and UTVs too. I mean, how did we do it before this? How did we monitor the trails up to this point?
We never monitored them, we didn't have a reason to monitor them, we were wide open. Streams, wetlands, problems like that were not addressed. It was tried to be addressed a few times in the past 30 years by past administrators. Never happened. Now the DNR came on us and forced it upon us. Here we are.
Basically, we're put in a position where if we didn't do something, create a mechanism to shut down the trails, we weren't gonna get any carbon credit money.
Carbon credit money we haven't seen yet.
We haven't seen, I mean, I'm all for, let's cancel
Carbon
the,
credit money.
let's cancel the carbon credit contract, but I think there's other people, the other side of the community, these guys are, this ad hoc committee, gonna be as happy as could be, but there's other members of the community that would say, you lost the potential of, a couple $1 million here, why not doing something? You see what I'm saying? There's kind of a balance here. This is the best I could think of to bring the two sides together. Nobody's perfectly happy, but everybody's a little bit happy.
Who's the county board appointed person on this ad hoc committee?
There is none.
We ain't appointed a person on it.
We did our part to get this, to comply with to get the carbon credits, we did that. And that's what the ad hoc committee, and they separated these roads, and so that this one was blocked, this one was open.
The DNR said you had to field verify.
Okay, and how often does the
Well,
DNR
is
say
that
we
a-
have to do that?
Is that a monthly request?
It's,
So, Jared, do we have to field verify any trails that are open?
We should.
Do we not have?
We should be working through all of them at some rate. Is it perhaps 10% a year?
Before, my understanding was Doug Brown from the DNR said, have these been field verified? And we were not comfortable opening these, and yes, they were field verified. Is that still standard, or has that changed?
Say that again.
Before, my understanding was Doug Brown from the DNR asked if all these trails had been field verified that we were requesting to open. And we did not feel comfortable opening them without field verifying because we'd be found out of compliance. Does that still stand, or has that changed?
Should this ad hoc
It
committee
probably-
want to verify them?
It probably still stands. I don't know that I don't know that they've inspected any open trails that are already open. I haven't seen any inspections from them on that. The ones I've seen are new trails that should be open, or that they want open.
basically, don't you have to, when you do your timber sales twice a year, you know what roads are going to be used or whatever tracks, wherever they have to trap it. And in order for them, for the loggers to stay in compliance, they have to repair the roads, keep them in good
Correct.
operational condition, whatever you wanna call it. And so, as such, the forest department is already supposedly inspecting these roads. So,
Yep, good point. We can inspect a lot of them in our day-to-day
while they're doing
activities.
timber sales and
while we're going up.
cruising or whatever else.
Yep.
You know, if volunteers wanna come along, I'd say, look, that's fine, they can come along, as long as they notify the committee, let them come along. But I don't think they themselves have an official capacity outside of being an observer and, making a recommendation one way or another.
Not what the resolution says.
I know that's not what it says, maybe you ought to rewrite the resolution.
If you wanna rewrite the resolution, you rewrite the resolution, but
How can it take private citizens and give them the authority to say which road is gonna be open, which road is gonna be closed? You know,
you voted yes on the resolution too.
I know.
And if anybody wants to change it, just go ahead and bring it back, but
Well, they should be trained somehow, I guess, and that would probably cost money too. Well, I know it costs money. It costs money to train my guys.
That'd be the same as taking somebody off the street and telling them to go check out a ATV trail. What are they looking for?
Mud holes. I think great.
I could look at it a different way than what you could.
Well, and what happens if one of these people gets into a confrontation with a, logger, if they go out onto an active timber sale? You know, they're acting in their capacity as a, advisory board committee member, or if they get hurt out there when they,
well, the hurt, we need insurance. If they get in confrontation with a logger, then I think as a good forestry committee, we should consider, terminating their position on the ad hoc committee. Because any county employee should be doing their best to get along with people.
right, but are these employees, or are they? That's the gray area.
Has this been brought up to Rich?
Yes.
Yes.
What's his opinion, sir?
Well, he thinks that reimbursing for mileage is opening a can of worms. His first question was who's directing the work of these people, and are they actually more contractors? And then how are we gonna verify that this mileage is true and accurate? He also had the same concerns Jamie has gotten over at work comp issues. Not okay going on to active timber sales, that's not a place for someone who's untrained to be.
Maybe the finance, or maybe the forestry committee should bring it to their committee again and discuss it with Rich. See if they can get it verified of what can be done. I don't think we have the authority to make those decisions.
Yeah, any board member could bring something up on that.
I don't know how this thing ever got passed, really, what boggles my mind. I may be voted for it, I don't know, but.
Yeah, you did and I did too, Randy, so I'm not remembering it either, so.
And on the forestry work plan that we just approved,
Seemed like a good thing to do at the time, but.
and the forestry work plan that we just approved on the last county board meeting, it said Rusk County will continue to protect sensitive areas and addresses systematic degradation of water resources as identified with DNR, managing off-road vehicle use through the newly created Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee and the Forestry Committee. Again, another reference to, that committee being involved, that one doesn't say anything about.
I don't think that committee should be dissolved or go away, I think it's a valuable committee.
I think
I
it's,
think that
it's
they're-
saving us a lot of stress.
I think their recommendations are important. They should be involved on what's going on out there.
Are you involved in this committee, Jared?
Not really.
So how is this committee gonna serve you any purpose from a forestry standpoint if the forest administrator is not involved in it?
I mean, I'm sort of involved in that they're supposed to be doing these inspections, as it's written.
Well, somebody's gonna have to oversee this group to know that these inspections are getting done, because you're gonna be responsible for whether or not they got done when it comes to the carbon credit end of it. And
Yeah.
Doug Brown.
They've brought them all before the forestry committee and we voted on. And Jared has put his input on any ones that, you know, he agrees or disagrees with, about opening up.
Cause we're worried about losing our carbon credit classification. I think we should have a little bit more involvement in saying these trails.
The DNR was happy with, the creation of the Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee to help monitor these trails.
Those other counties have them? Committees?
I think they have committees and an advisory, capacity, not an inspection capacity. Some, not all.
I guess I really need to know how often these trails need to be inspected too. I mean,
How many people are going out on an inspection?
Generally one, sometimes two.
My understanding is that we can set our own policy on how often to inspect it. As long as we have a plan that we adhere to.
Well, I would think the logical plan would be to do it every time they have a timber sale. That should be sufficient.
You're right, we can do a lot of inspections in our regular day-to-day stuff rather than just spending the whole day doing.
They do sales twice a year, spring and fall.
Yeah, we're working all year to establish those,
I know.
so yeah, they're out there.
so yeah, to Tony's point, I mean, if you're going out to a certain job during that time, couldn't that same individual, once they had adequate training, you think, I mean, inspect the trail and do a simple write-up on that at the same time?
Yeah,
Then in that case, any logging road could be open based on that it's been inspected the last time it was logged, right?
Well, yes and no. Potentially. Depending on wetlands and streams and things like that. Those are the biggest issues. As well as steep slopes, you know.
If somebody wants to rewrite the resolution and bring it before board or bring it before forestry, that's fine. But as it stands, we gotta figure out if we put insurance on them, at the very least,
We have no
sounds like we
choice
have to,
about the
right?
insurance, we have no choice, I think that,
So the day they started getting a per diem, for going out, according to the resolution, inspecting,
They don't get a per diem for going out and
Or they
inspecting.
get a per diem, but they were charged with inspecting, right? So that day they should have been getting insurance.
There's some that don't even take it. Most of them
There's some that, and I'm sure that there's some that probably won't even take the mileage.
And do we have a resolution for this, or is it just?
For the mileage?
Yeah.
For mileage, yes, but Rich advises that there need to be limitations, that this is very open-ended.
I think we need to look at too, what's the difference on the, right now we'd be under the volunteer comp. Right? Cause we're not paying, we're not reimbursing them for
That's true.
taking the trail.
Yeah, so they should be listed as as volunteers on the, and each department sends me an annual list of the volunteers that I submit for our volunteer insurance renewal. We will also be paying workers' comp, so the volunteer insurance policy is separate from workers' comp, but we will be paying workers' comp for their time at meetings.
Is that now for board members?
Yep.
I guess we need to look into that before. I guess we gotta look into that as to what this is gonna cost us, whether or not we leave this in place or we rescind it. Part of the trails. And the difference in cost between volunteer comp or employee comp. We start reimbursing them for riding the trail. I don't, you're open, I just don't know how you're gonna keep a lid on that and make it somewhat fair.
I don't like the idea that they're holding our carbon credits if we don't do something that they figure we should do, they're gonna cut back the carbon credits. And you probably never should have signed that goofy agreement with them. Seems we've got more problems with the carbon credit deal than anything else.
With or without carbon credits, we're in the same exact boat.
Huh?
With or without carbon credits, we're in the same boat.
Does this affect some other certification that we need for our forestry? I mean, if we don't do the
Yeah.
trail, you're saying it affects another certification that we already have.
Forest certification. Kind of started with that stream crossing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it affects our 15-year plan. DNR is gonna make us do what they're doing, regardless of whether we wanna be in the carbon credit program or not. You know, we're bound by chapter 2811 of the state statutes. We have to have a 15-year plan that the DNR will approve. And we have to do this to have an approved 15-year plan. So the carbon credits is a talking point, and it's a lot of money that we stand to lose out on. But even without, well, potentially, as you said, it's a mystery yet, but with or without that, we still have to be doing this stuff.
The DNR may not have looked as hard at some things, and with the carbon credits, we got more people looking at it. But try to tell your constituents that, you know, we're gonna on-sign up for carbon credits too, which could, yeah, we haven't seen them yet, and I say, yeah, if we don't see them in a couple of years, then it just seems like a hoax, but right now, there's a potential there that we get a lot of money off that by managing the forest properly. So to undo the carbon credits, I don't think is a good, best option. I think you, like I said, you got the balancing act, you got both sides there that, you know, one side's gonna say, nobody should be able to enforce it. The other side says, we should be able to, you know, drive my four-wheeler through a lake, you know, and this, keeping the public's hand in this is probably the easiest way to.
Well, we've got some really good people that ride the trails, and this all started with a handful of people that don't respect things. I mean, that's how it all started, with the creek and whatever else.
Right.
I mean, I've ridden the trails, and there's
Everybody
somebody
was
who's going up
respectful.
this hill that that
Yeah.
bring their four-wheeler all the way up the hill and, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
20 degrees up, and they got no business being up there, but unless you're gonna be out there catching every little thing they do.
And honestly, this whole thing has probably helped educate the public as well, cause honestly, you know, I mean, I don't have a four-wheeler, but if I would've jumped on a four-wheeler or jumped on the trail, I would've just been like, oh, hey, there's a stream, cross it, you know, and I would've been one of those guys. Now I wouldn't, but, you know, you get a couple of bad apples or a couple of uneducated people, and with the education that comes out, it helps.
It's not necessarily bad apples though either. If you have 15 grandmas with a backpack full of cookies going as gently as they possibly can over a wetland or stream, they're gonna do damage, whether they meant to or not. And, that's been clearly stated from the DNR that intent has nothing to do with what's going on. The result is what matters.
Coffee beans.
Bad apple or not, some areas don't withhold traffic to the traffic, they can't hold up to the traffic. It's unfortunate. If we're in Jackson County, it's all sand, they can run anywhere without damaging it. We don't have that here, we've got wetlands everywhere, shouldn't say everywhere, but we got a lot of wetlands, a lot of sensitive areas, steep slopes, streams. Certainly the ad hoc committee should be there to make recommendations of where to put a road. Case being, that road was the issue, whether or not that logger damaged it last week, doesn't matter, it can't be open, it's through a wetland, apparently. It can be open if they wanna suggest to the forestry committee that we work on getting a trail into that block of woods, we can work on that, it's gonna take permitting, wetland delineations, potentially engineering to cross those wetlands properly. But, I don't know if we need those guys to be inspecting that trail to tell us that or not. I mean, like I said, I think we could get it on a rotation in-house if we had to. Kinda rambling, but.
It sounds like it needs to go back to forestry, and you guys need to talk about it more with Rich, is that what we kinda had here?
I'm not recommending a change. You could send it back and have it brought up on the agenda, but
But it sounds like Rich needs to be involved to advise on this.
I mean, Rich read over the county board packet when this was on the agenda originally and was there for the meeting.
But was not in there for reversing.
For the mileage?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the whole.
No, sorry.
Mileage, okay.
I mean, I think you have to have his input on it, we gotta dig into this farther, know if this is the right thing to do or not. Otherwise, the other option is put it on forestry. Or maybe Rich is gonna recommend we need to hire a contractor to do it. Maybe he's gonna say we need to have another part-time person or just does this. I don't know.
A paid employee.
A paid employee. And maybe that is the thing, you know, maybe that's a safer, have a part-time employee in the forestry that just goes and checks trails, and sure, Jared could find him some other things to do here and there too. It wouldn't have to be a full-time.
I don't think we need another employee.
You got the people on staff now?
I mean, we're fully staffed for almost the first time in like 5 years.
And I think through the support from the public came for even doing an ordinance. At first, when I first started meeting with the ad hoc committee, the original ad hoc committee that was just making a recommendation on ordinance, I would talk to them and I'd be like, every time we come with the ordinance, they'd say, nobody likes that ordinance. And then you'd ask them, what don't you like about it? And eventually they ran out of things, and it'd just be like, finally, you gotta admit, we just don't trust you. We wanna know, you know, we don't trust, elected officials, everybody does. And so, when I brought this forth, it seemed like the ones that were worried about the ordinance were pacified by the fact that we get some say in what happens in the public lands, and this is not limited to just ATVers. Anybody, it doesn't matter if you're a bird watcher, anybody could be on this committee, it doesn't have to be, it happens to be, more heavily on the side of, ATV activists. But this committee, the way it was set up, was more of a way for the public to trust us.
Yeah, and I'm not.
To at least get the ones that are like, if you pass an ordinance, we're gonna be in here, we're gonna be storming down the building, or not quite, but at least it kind of brought the two sides together.
That's fine, they wanna be, in my opinion, it's fine they wanna be involved. It's not a problem. Help us resolve some issues that we need to resolve. But I'm with Jamie on this from the liability side of it, and just opening this thing up. I mean, there's gotta be some guidelines here set on this. How often these trails get inspected? From what I'm hearing from Jared right now, he's got the crew to do it. So then maybe forestry should take it over and still allow this committee to advise on trails. But they're gonna do it on their own. We're not gonna reimburse them for going up in the forestry and riding around checking trails. We're gonna put that on the forestry department.
I think it goes back to the trust thing, they're gonna be like, well, then we got bureaucrats checking the trails.
It's not a bureaucrat, it's county employee. That's trained, so you don't have to, whoever decides to have a look at the trails, whether it's.
I'm just cautioning, I think that we'll lose a lot of public support on the ordinance.
Don't you have, there's several people that I can think of, that they go out and they do check the trails, and they ride the trails. You know who I'm talking about?
You mean members of the public?
Yes. And I'm sure if there was any problem, they would notify you of it, because it was a big problem.
If the trail's closed, so that they can't be riding down it. And yes,
They know what they're doing. These guys have been riding long enough, they know what trails they can go on, what trails they can't.
they have to follow our ordinance, so.
Isn't that what we just spent oodles of money on signs for? Isn't that gonna help us say what trails are gonna be open and which ones are not?
Right. But to look at a new trail that needs to be open, a member from the public, and yes, they're, like here, we're giving them permission to check the trail out, but a normal member of the public shouldn't be down a closed trail to inspect it.
But we're not stopping the advisory committee from going and checking a trail at this point.
They can go down any trail they want, but.
But I think somebody after this discussion should have a nice chat with them about safety. I'm sure all of them are very aware of it, they're probably skilled woodsmen and everything else, but I would just remind them from a liability standpoint in the county, we just don't wanna see anybody getting hurt out there doing it. Which we don't.
Make them wear helmets.
County combine, hard hats, but I think they need to coordinate with Jared as to what he feels is safe for them to be checking on and not, too. And if somebody's logging, and they're in there actively, well, he doesn't know if they're necessarily actively falling trees at the time.
Is, anybody in the ad hoc committee complain about not receiving reimbursement for mileage or whatever?
I had somebody recommend it.
Member of the committee?
Yep.
Another safety concern is too, is like, if one of Jared's guys is out there, Jared knows who's out there, what trails they're inspecting, so if they don't report back, they know where to go to look for them. What if these committee members are out there and don't come back? Nobody knows where they are, what they're doing. You know how the cell phone reception is up in the Blue Hills.
So maybe should they report to their committee chair or to Jared that says, we plan on inspecting such and such trail, such or such a day?
I think that's a great suggestion, but they're not county employees, so we can't make them do anything.
We're not going anywhere.
Right.
We're not going anywhere on this.
So as far as right now, nobody wants to change the resolution that's passed. Maybe maybe in the future somebody wants to, but if you guys do want me to take this back to forestry and discuss a little bit more the, concerns brought up by Rich about, you know, about the cap on it and how they're determining which trails are being inspected.
Well, I think personally that whoever is on this committee is gonna do an inspection, whether it's the whole committee or 2 or 3 members or whatever. If they wanna go out and do some inspection, they ought to coordinate with the forestry department in the first place, because if the forestry department is up in the Blue Hills, for example, doing some cruising or whatever else, and if they book their same time, they can kind of coordinate. So awareness of who's there and who's not.
Probably give them a report of where the problems are. Yeah. Like I said, we're not gaining anything right here. We've been on this for almost an hour. I'll make a motion to bring it back to the forestry committee.
Okay, got a motion by Al to send it back to forestry, is there a second? Second by Tony. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries, so we'll send it back to forestry and, yeah, I think it needs work.
I mean, from what I just heard from Darren, if he can inspect the trails, it's very possible that of course we should be discussing possibly changing that whole resolution. And take that out of there, the inspection part being their responsibility. Just leave them as an advisory committee with their per diem and done with that. That might be the right way to go. I'm not saying it is, but it might be.
Just, my opinion on that side of it, from being heavily involved in this, is that was a selling point, was we're involved in looking at these trails, and we're not just.
They can still go right to trails. We're not
Not if they're not open.
I would think you guys can come to some type of agreement with Jared as to who from that committee can and cannot. I would think.
They can go anywhere on the county forest.
Right
But
now,
not active timber sales.
On foot, they can go anywhere. Half of them have a handicap permit too, they can pretty much go anywhere.
but somebody's not gonna walk a mile back in the woods to inspect the trail.
It's called action committee. I do it all the time. It's very difficult.
If it's an active timber sale, then it should
I'm
be.
younger
a couple
than that.
years
I'm
older
younger
than
than
you.
that, yeah.
It should strictly be, I mean, my suggestion is to strictly be county employee. That checks it.
Authorized county employee, yes.
Motorized.
That'd be the simplest from liability standpoint. You guys can show.
Okay, we will move on here. Number 2 is to approve public record keeping. Document here.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, sir.
See you later.
I hope the rest of
Keeping
it,
it forever on my-
I hope the rest of it goes faster
I
for you.
appreciate you being here though.
You don't currently have anything like this now?
No. So we'd like to do that so that it's an email that will be set up to come to a few of us so that we can take care of this. That way we have more specific things than just an email.
Rich looked this over?
This is, he has not yet, but this is all from, anything that's on here is from the open records policy. All the writing below. Just asking a name, what's requested, and then to be specific, and then it.
So could you do a handwritten one of these too? I mean, it wouldn't have to be an email.
Well, I'm gonna try to make it so it's, right up, you can write in that space. So that's easy for the person trying to do that. And then I'll have Rich look it over, I just haven't seen him, he's been busy. very similar to other counties as well. Okay, Ashley and I both looked at a couple counties.
Need to change the wording, how would you like to receive new information, anything you say the or your?
Did you say Rich reviewed this or not?
He has not,
Not seen it yet.
I haven't seen him. But
Maybe we should, have him review it and then they put this on next month.
well, can you approve it pending his approval,
What's that now?
with his changes? I don't think he could change it. There's not much on it.
Yeah,
We had IT set up the email, that's done already. Yeah, there's not a whole lot, it's just gonna be a little bit more specific so that we can get them answered.
So like, it's a specific location of incident.
It could be, there are records requests for cameras, so I need to know which camera. You know,
Okay, so
maybe
let's-
it's at the highway, maybe it's here, maybe
Let's
it's.
say, I wanna open records request, Tony's email, it went, like, was the location of the email? So what if you don't, okay, what if you're looking for a file, but you don't know exactly where, what location it's filed
Be
in?
specific,
What's that?
be specific. Maybe they don't wanna fill that part of it out. But this is what other counties have.
So, not all the information on here would be necessary.
Right.
It's just a mechanism to help you organize going through faster. But it's not requiring everything on here, it's just say, hey, this is the form,
It's there if they need it.
and you put it in there, and if you put the information in the right boxes, it helps me to organize and find it faster. But it's not, it won't necessarily have to be.
I mean, this is gonna be easier to keep track of filing, that kind of thing, cause we have to keep everything, right now I have them in the 3-ring binder,
Do you handle all open records requests?
most of them. Or they call me and say, where do I go, what do I do?
And then she'll forward them on to like departments if she doesn't have it.
Well, I'm just, yeah, so, I average how many open records requests do you get per day or per week, whatever?
Depends, sometimes if we're at a meeting, sometimes 6 at the meeting. Sometimes none.
Should that be added? The meeting or the department, should that be an option at your?
Date of incident. They can be specific at what meeting, that's what that box is for.
Down in the big box.
I'm not sure if we have the authority to do this or if it should be board authority.
I think it should come through a committee
To the board.
to the board, yes.
To the board.
So I'll have Rich look at it. Then I can bring it to county board, then should I bring it in a resolution or just a document?
I think a policy can just be a discussion and possible motion, but we'll clarify with Rich.
It's gonna, I mean, there are programs, they're like 10,000. And the programs actually keep track of the emails, the chain, whatever's happening, and then everybody can see it on the website. It's public knowledge on the website. And I think that's, I don't know if that's the way you guys wanna go with it being public knowledge. I don't know if you.
What, open records request?
Sure.
Why not?
Right. Do you want to pay $10,000 a year for software to do it?
No.
It's not in here, it's not in here,
Is it one time?
one time.
Oh, it can't, it doesn't stay up public unless you buy that?
No, I can post everything online, if that's what I'm told to do. I don't know, I mean, we'd have to put another page on probably.
And probably increase the capacity.
Yeah. And And what that does is lets everybody else see what was requested to get that answer. You know, maybe that was answered before, maybe that's something, you know,
So I might not have to put in an open records request if I see,
it's not,
or it might even help me if I'm just going through
right,
saying, oh, that person open record requested that, why did I?
That's why you
And
wanna-
I could dig through and be like, oh, I see why.
and that's why the resolutions are online. You know, that didn't start till I came in, and I feel like the resolutions need to be online, because we need people to see that stuff. The packets,
I agree with you.
the packets, we're trying to keep the packets updated, we wanna do that stuff as quick as possible.
So, if we pass this today to forward on to, have Rich to take a look at, to go to county board, it still wouldn't take effect of county board, so if I had more time to look at it and be like, disagree, I'd have another swing at it.
Yeah, we'll have Rich take a look at it again, I just haven't, I asked for him to see it.
Well, I can just make the motion to forward, I don't have to put that in the.
Well, we'll have another finance meeting before our next county board anyhow. Right.
That's true.
Yeah, we get early anyways.
So do you wanna wait till?
Honestly, I mean, if we wait till the next finance committee, it's not gonna make a difference to make a motion then.
True. I'll make a few more changes on there and
So we're gonna just bring it back.
You wanna postpone a decision on it then?
What's that?
You recommend to postpone?
bring it back in December.
Yeah, bring it back in December.
I can do that.
And Rich can put his final tweaks to it.
Yeah, I'll just ask Rich and then.
Bring it back there and-
Finalize, let's get forwarded to the county board.
Would you like me to look into some software then too? Would you like me to look into the software then too, cause Bugs and I both went through it? Or just leave that alone?
Let's think about that one.
Okay, I can just say, here it is, you do as you please. I don't-
Like
it
I said,
doesn't
we have
matter
the
to me
prices and then, on time or
And
whatever.
what you guys want me to do with this stuff.
You can bring us the information, I guess, and show it to us, right, it doesn't hurt nothing.
So, and honestly, I know that one could probably be made of finance, but that wouldn't be a bad one to go to full board with, like, hey, how do you, cause it's not just a decision, the $10,000 is a decision, but it's more of a decision on how to handle open record requests. You know what I'm saying there?
There's specific call from the, animal control person, or the sheriff's department, or Annette Grotzinger, she called today. There's things that, Rich has to answer, those are things that, it makes it easy for him to get in there, and it shows the pattern, shows what's going on with the whole thing, even Rich's answer would be in there.
So it's creates like a workflow.
It creates a workflow, and we have that specific record for that thing, whatever's going on, it's all.
So like right now, say I opens records requested you, and, maybe I'm gonna do one when I go home now.
What are you gonna ask for?
I don't know, something really absurd. I'm gonna find something, but,
The
okay,
Johnson files, yeah.
so I know there's a.
The Johnson files?
Johnson files.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to talk about that.
Oh,
Okay, go.
So, right now, say I request something. There is a, depending on if it's a one page or whatever, there's a fee that could be involved in that, right?
depending on what you're asking for.
Right, but if I ask for a 15-page document, there might be a printing fee or something like that, right, or, some work to take it out, I don't know if that would all.
Location fee, it has to be $50 or more.
Okay, so let's say it's a really big file, then let's say it's a $50 location fee, because,
At the lowest burden rate of that department, yes.
Okay. So, now let's say somebody else opens records, requests that same thing a month later, do they get the same fee?
It's never happened.
It's never happened, but if they're online, that might not come
It's a
up.
rich question.
I would say no, because at that point, then that
It's
record
already
exists, it's
exists.
readily available.
So
So then what if I'm the first guy and I'm like, the second guy took advantage of my $50?
Our life.
You should've waited them out, would that be the answer? I didn't know, but I mean, I guess, in that sense, I could see posting online would be, beneficial, but I mean, it's probably not gonna,
Another thing you should ask too, you've got this word, that an authority may require prepayment of any fee imposed if the total amount exceeds $5.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be,
No, that comes right from the DOJ.
that's exactly how it's worded, you may,
Sorry.
so we can't have a policy that we will over $5.
You can make a policy, you can make our very own policy, and we should have a policy.
And that's another thing that should be put on here too, so you need to dig into that too, I think. If a person's gonna change it, it needs to go on now.
We have talked about making that policy, so that we know what's going on here, we don't have that.
Sounds to me like that's something that needs to be tackled before we finish up the form.
It'll be done by next month. How's that sound?
Whatever.
So, maybe,
I'm just saying, there's no sense in doing a form and then changing certain things later on. You can hash that out all first before you put it on the form.
Okay, next, number 3 is comprehensive plan. Now that is, I did talk with, Sheldon Johnson over at Northwest Regional Planning. Kind of depends on what we want, really, or how extensive we wanna be. I don't know how many of you have read the old plan, done about 13 years ago, I think.
It's really interesting.
You know, we could just do an upgrade, or we can, and we could get into it and really shine it up, but, I don't think it's really necessary. We haven't used that comprehensive plan since we put it on the shelf for 13 years ago. So, you know, I don't see a point of spending a whole lot of money on it.
Is there a possibility, Randy, that, like a business coming to town would request that? I guess, isn't that kind of the point, is, like, if somebody's looking at coming to town, they kind of wanna see, hey, what's your comprehensive plan?
And that's where we could end up with a little, you know, they might be able, well, you don't have any plan, so we'll do what we want.
Maybe we should shine it up a little bit.
Who did you say you talked to about that version? Who did you say you talked to about the comprehensive?
Sheldon Johnson over at Northwest Regional Planning.
Okay.
And they do that type of work. Now, when we done that plan originally, Andy Alvarado done it, but, he hired 2 summer interns, and they worked on it, and, they got it done. And we saved a bundle of money. I think counties were spending, in the neighborhood of 250,000 to do that, and I think we done ours for under 50.
We thought they get 6 interns if you want.
Right.
I thought it was around 30,000.
It could have been, yeah. But the 2, he had 2 summer interns, and, actually, we used, we had Taylor County as a guide. And so they kind of followed that, and so it's, you know, we could look at, maybe if we hired a couple interns like next summer, that's a possibility too.
Well, Jamie's got an update on number 4 that might kind of fit into that.
Yeah, so, Dave Hibbard from SEP reached out to Ashley a couple weeks ago and asked if we could potentially utilize one of their SEP workers in our finance department. He's got I think he's in his first semester at WITC and accounting, and so wondering if, you know, he needs some work experience, wants to build his resume, so we kind of started working on a list of stuff that we could potentially use this person for. I don't have a lot of information at this point because I'm meeting with Dave in a couple weeks, but it just occurred to Ashley and I that we could potentially use this worker to help do some work to update that comprehensive plan.
Well, that certainly sounds like a reasonable
So, yeah, I don't think I need your guys' approval or anything, but kind of was looking for your blessing and just kind of wanted to make you aware of that opportunity that we potentially have here.
I'm fine with that, I just don't wanna take it too lightly either, you know? this could be used by business coming to town, so I want us to keep that in mind.
And, I mean, if,
Is that plan available on our website? It should be,
I know it's on the Z drive, but
it
yeah,
may not be anymore.
I'm not sure, but I can give it to anybody that wants it. I can't remember when it was actually created, it was a while back, I wanna say 2003, does that sound right? Maybe not that long ago.
Right now, it's
you guys are.
Later than that,
actually, I thought it was a 50-year plan, wasn't it?
I think we're a few years beyond, and they recommend every 10 years to update it. There's no law that says you have to do it, but it's highly recommended. Washburn County had one done, spent good money on it, and the board would not pass it, so.
Oh.
So it's sitting there.
Where you guys are at with finance right now, though, you guys kinda need a little help just for getting your stuff done with all the stuff you get to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all stuff that can be put onto a first semester accounting student, so it's not so much stuff that's going to, really alleviate our workload, cause it's gonna be a lot of hand holding, but it's an
I was
opportunity.
just, where I was going to know if there's things that can help alleviate,
Mhm.
that maybe they might wanna be directed first anyway, so that we get the
I
stuff
mean,
that's
obviously
more
it's-
time sensitive stuff, because obviously we're a couple years over at this point anyways. So I just wanted to say that don't, if there's something that can benefit you guys, I'd probably start with that. And then, yeah, if they can help out with it. Like Jim said, we want this thing probably as polished as we can get to.
So Randy, I was re-looking at my emails that Sheldon sent me, and he said that they just helped Bayfield and Burnett, and their projects ranged between 60 and 70,000. And we do have that back half money still.
Yeah, and I think they're probably upgrading it, going through it fairly, in depth. So, just kinda depends how much we wanna, there's demographics that need to be changed, population numbers and stuff like that, needs to be upgraded, so. Comprehensive plan, there's seven chapters, I can't remember, there's, housing, there's transportation, there's, human services, there's agriculture, forestry, and there's, a couple more, but, But if we can get that online so that, everybody wants to look at it.
Yeah, it might be available somewhere. Ashley, do you know if that comprehensive plan's available online?
I think I pulled it from the website when I sent it to Sheldon. I think. I'll have to look.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be online or not, because when we done that, I don't know how extensive we were in putting stuff on it, like 13, 14 years ago, so.
Now you emailed
But
it.
there's gotta be a hard copy around
Yeah.
somewhere too.
Yeah, I found a
Came
PDF.
in like 9 PDFs to, that's a pretty big file.
Yeah, but we have like all of the chapters like in Word documents, so like I think that it would be, it's probably in a pretty good format. Like if we just update, that it would be relatively.
That would make it a lot easier too, so, yeah. We had, when we passed that, there was a lot of resistance here too, because some felt that was gonna be taking away your rights and whatever, but the black helicopters coming over the horizon, was an issue.
Is Phil flying one of those?
You probably remember some of those
Yeah.
conversations.
I can't fly a helicopter.
Not yet.
I wish I could. No, actually, I don't trust helicopters as much. Those, the helicopter pilots are the weird ones. If you don't think I'm weird enough.
So we can, I'll talk to Sheldon, and I'll have another meeting there early December, so, we'll talk to him again. And, But that's something else, like I said, we can do our own too. We done it to start with, so, and I think we did a good job. When I say we. Yeah, I'm suggesting that, some extra help to do that.
If it looks good, I'll say we too, otherwise I'll be like.
Yeah, who's this we? Alright, and the step worker, where we?
So I've got a meeting with Dave in a couple weeks to kind of, actually I can meet with him and just find out more. I have no idea,
Is he suggesting talking to you, that somebody that?
Yeah, he has somebody in mind, but I don't know, what the time frame is, the length of availability, the number of hours a week, or,
Well, when you talk to him, keep that.
Yeah,
Visit plan in mind, and what it might involve, if that might be something that this person might.
well, and Ashley's got a great working relationship with Dave, so if it doesn't even work out with this person, he might have somebody else in mind that could use some work experience that would be a good fit for it too.
Can you see if he's got 2 or 3 people that? Or does that become too much to,
That might
to
be,
do a lot of handholding?
and that might eat too much of Jamie, Brittany, and Sky's time if they've got multiple people that need direction.
You brought that to personnel, didn't you?
Yeah, so once we get more information from Dave, we'll run it through personnel again. So we currently have one at the animal shelter and up in IT, and RJ is working out, great in IT, so it's a good program.
Okay, good. I guess we're at number 6, LAGCF, request to forward.
Well, hold on. We gotta do the rest of the updates to the financial procedures manual. Jared's was just like a little teeny tiny piece of.
That would've been nice.
Yeah, nice try now. We started talking about this last month, and then we were kind of, going round and round, and we had time, so we just said we'd, bring it back this month.
Jim, we're not talking about food.
What?
Breakfast or how much. Cause we went way too deep in the weeds on that one.
We've never been in the weeds here before.
Is that on, you have that?
Go down that road, Jim.
You sent that out as an email, didn't you?
I did, yep. Yeah, and I have it up on the screen here,
I
so,
don't know if I can find it.
That's okay, I'll do it later.
Got this. We didn't really change.
no, in the email, actually, what did we change? Oh, the, requirements for, calendar offers.
Oh, yes. So as it stands now, wage adjustments need to go through finance and personnel with a recommendation to the full county board. In the interest of retaining the talent in the county, it's our suggestion that counter offers only go through personnel. Because they're usually of a time sensitive nature, and if we tell someone we've gotta wait a month to find out, we are rolling the dice that we're gonna lose that good employee.
So you're talking like if you had an interview with somebody and we offer you the job and you're like, we're offering you this job at $23 an hour, and the person comes back and says, I
No,
want 24, and you're like, we can do 23.50 instead of waiting to come back to.
no, I'm talking about if we've got a current staff member
Yep.
who gets another job offer and says, I'll stay if you match this,
Oh, gotcha.
that kind of a counter offer.
Okay.
I don't know, some discussion that we had here is that we should have a policy for that, but that's hard to do, a policy, because there's such a difference in employees.
Exactly, I don't think that's
So I
advisable.
think you have to take them on an individual basis.
Yes.
But if the personnel committee, is given that discretion, they would be taking it on an individual basis, and, they're appointed to that committee for that reason.
Mhm.
But I don't think we got through everything.
Did we end up purchasing policies, or just before that?
Was it meals that we were on?
Yes.
Okay, my motion.
is that in? Is that in
Reimbursements, I think.
So yeah, this is where we were at, chapter 7, so we did not make it to purchasing.
Where do you wanna start on this procedures thing?
I think at chapter 7, travel and trading, cause we kinda that's about where we left off last month.
Get that far?
When did you
Yes.
send the one with the changes in it? Did you send the one with the red changes?
I thought I sent that even this week, didn't I?
You did,
Yeah.
13th.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I sent it last month, but then I also sent another one this month and just told you that the only thing that, had really changed since last month was,
Did that one have the Word document, does that have the changes in it?
I think I sent you guys maybe the PDF. But it's all redlined, like, so anything in red is what has changed from the original.
I think I'm just pulling up that.
Mine's orange.
So yeah, we were kind of, debating on, whether or not we need to get specific on what's allowable for timeframes for reimbursements and,
Different thing than that.
I think yours is a PDF, or did I send you?
My thing was a Word.
But the Word, does your Word have the red in there, the changes, or is it just?
Hold on, I think you need to,
Well,
you guys
it's
don't
orange.
have the,
burnt
I
orange.
think you're maybe seeing it in the changes.
But yeah, I've got changes, I've got,
No,
You guys might not have-
was that sent on the 13th?
I got it in the email dated the 13th,
Yeah.
so Monday.
I'm probably looking right at it.
Well, and it depends on which view you're in, okay, so,
Oh,
you know what I mean,
so I'm not actually downloading it, I'm just opening it, a preview.
yeah, I think that might be, yeah, here we go,
Yeah,
cause I got it up on Randy's now,
red lines, yeah.
so. Yeah, so this is kind of where we
Okay,
left off here.
alright.
No,
What did you do to get that?
I downloaded it, from, in here,
Yeah.
I hit,
if I downloaded, I got the changes. Sorry about that.
or download right here.
Okay,
That's what I
alright,
think. So we were kind of, going back and forth about whether or not we should have timeframes in there, and, there's, with every payroll, there's usually at least one thing that we're like, this person left their home at 8 o'clock for okay for a meeting and they're planning breakfast. And we don't really have a policy that says, no, that's not allowable, because they did go out of county for travel. But is it really reasonable to give them a breakfast reimbursement when they didn't even leave their house till the time they would normally start their workday? So that's just what, and I know it seems kind of petty, but we don't wanna be accused of not, we just wanna be able to hold everybody to the same standard. And most of us would say, well, no, I wouldn't claim that because,
So right now, it's kind of up to a reasonable person, which leaves a lot of gray.
right, and some department heads would say, well, no, that's not reasonable, I'm not gonna send that. But other department heads are like,
Different than you're reasonable.
right, so that's just why we're kind of looking for some direction.
It is easier if things are black and white.
And, we're not like committed to these timeframes or anything either, it's just we were.
Okay, now we're eliminating the stipend of $6 for breakfast, $7.50 for lunch, and that's changed already, isn't it?
I just took that out of the policy because it says right above here that reimbursements is based on the current county board approved schedule. So
Yeah.
that's why this is not our current reimbursement rate anyway, so I just wanted to take that out. And And then we update if and when we do change the meal reimbursement rates at county board, I update that on the forms that the employees use for the reimbursements.
There we know what, 750, 10 and 15 or something?
Sounds familiar. Bill, you look like you had to say something.
No. I'm thinking.
And would you guys like me to bring forward next month a proposed increase to the per diem rates for 2024
The per diem for
meals?
meal?
Cause the state did increase their rates for next year. So I can.
Meals?
For meals, yep. But they're, like, the state sets rates that they use for their employees.
They would affect their budget.
Well,
Huh?
you know,
Probably.
Well,
not
you didn't know about it today.
not largely.
Have that many.
You know, we'd probably be looking at maybe, breakfast is $7.50, maybe we would increase it to $8.50.
You know what the state changed it to?
I can look it up, or,
Maybe we should just copy the state on it.
Would be quite a bit higher.
Is it quite a bit? You're working on the wrong level, you need the state job. The big bucks.
is the 2024 one or not?
Continental breakfast, Jim. What's a continental breakfast?
So I'm thinking
A
maybe,
granola bar and
but I don't know if
roll
this is the, yeah. 13, 15, and 26, I'm not sure if that's the current one or if that's what 2020.
Yeah, we,
Well, this is 2024, so it'd be the 13 for breakfast, 15 for lunch, and 26 for dinner, which seems high.
yeah, we
For,
don't,
I mean, for what, compared to what we're at right now.
what is it again?
13 for breakfast, 15 for lunch, and 26 for dinner.
What's McDonald's breakfast price?
13. And but if you get orange juice, I think it's 9. You don't even get a coffee.
Can't believe how expensive Subway has gotten.
Everything.
Yeah.
I make enough sandwiches at home, I don't go to Subway.
Even right across last time I traveled, there's hotels now won't give you a free hot breakfast, they charge you for it though.
A lot of
They
certain.
want to charge you for those watery eggs. One of my son.
And a bowl of cereal.
$20. $20 for breakfast, they want to charge you.
I mean, we've got another finance committee meeting before county board next month, so I could just, if that's okay, bring, put that on the agenda for next month, cause I don't think we can do it based off of what's on this agenda anyway, cause it's not changing the financial procedures manual, it's a different. For meal increase, or
Oh, okay.
if you wanna entertain it, we can just talk about it then. So, what are your guys' thoughts on time periods?
You think 8 AM would be on the line for breakfast? Instead of 7? I'm not sure.
So if they,
Well, the courthouse opens at 8, so in my mind, you should have already eaten breakfast and come to work prepared to start working by 8 o'clock.
If you're like me, you eat breakfast at your computer.
well, then you could eat breakfast in your car on your way to your.
That's unsafe. So, okay, this mileage thing,
If
No,
you
I
wanna say 8, that's.
see the lines of it.
so you wanna, I don't wanna jump ahead, are we still talking about changing that?
7, 1, and 6. And the example in there, so that it kinda gives a. And you know, if a bunch of employees complain about it and say, hey, we got reason, we don't like this, you know, they can come back and say, hey, we think it should be changed, we can always change it again, but at least this gives us a starting point with some guidelines, rather than I'm getting punished because I'm following the rules, or, you know.
But it's still the honor system.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's still, how are you gonna know what time somebody left their.
I mean, we can't expect finance, that's just what, when we discussed this last month, I remember leaving on this note. It's like, you don't wanna go down this road of sitting there. It's still the honor system. You don't wanna be spending half your day trying to track this down, and how many hours did it take him to go from here to here to here to here? Right?
We're gonna go down?
Gravel,
Yeah.
lots of rocks. Got me again.
Oh, that was funny.
Gosh, I gotta fix that.
It's not first things you can say.
So, but it's the honor system, so it is what it is, and
We used to have to put in, or bring in slips from any meal that we had. But that, I think,
with a timestamp,
that,
you'd have the timestamp.
yeah. But I think then there was more work involved for whoever was doing payroll too, to go through all those. But there weren't actually that many of them, but
Wasn't there an issue though?
that's why it was eliminated.
Didn't we discuss this last time about receipts and
Yeah,
something came up?
you said you didn't wanna go down the road of receipts.
I don't know if I said that.
I think it was something close to that.
I think, yeah, I think there was a concern maybe from one of the departments, and, maybe
Well-
they've done it in the past, and it was harder for one of the departments to do it, than just.
It was my
Start
understanding that
reimbursing.
there was one department that just refused.
You start reimbursing meals, it's gonna be a lot more than this.
We can enforce it, but how much effort do you wanna,
Well,
you know what I
and
mean?
it ends up holding up.
You go down
payroll
that
expenses,
road.
too. Okay, so Jim, you were saying something about mileage?
Well, which I thought, I mean, is now the time, or did I miss this, is now the time to adjust these meal reimbursements too? Is that what we wanna do now?
That first line? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I got the 2018 in here, but I
Okay.
don't see,
I struck that out
right, but where?
Because it says reimbursement is based on the current county board approved schedule, so I
Okay.
didn't think we needed this in there as well as that.
So
and
when
then-
do you wanna tackle changing that?
That I will bring to you guys next month on the agenda
Alright.
because,
Sorry, I missed that.
no, that's okay.
And then the mileage, down here, you go to the next page, if you use your personal vehicle, you get 25 cents. I think that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need 65. But what does it cost us? I think we should at least, if someone wants to use their own vehicle, my thought process, I thought about this a lot. We should at least be willing to reimburse them what our cost would be on a county vehicle. I mean, we're not losing any money then. So if it costs us 38 cents to run a vehicle at county or whatever, we should at least be willing to give that to an individual who wants to drive their vehicle instead of ours.
It got dropped down to 25, and I think that was the rationale there was to try to encourage employees to use the county vehicles. But I can see where, in the wintertime, a person comes in, an employee comes in, they've got their cars all warm up, nice windshields clear. You get out here to our cars, there's frost in them, sometimes there's ice and snow on them, so then you gotta start all over and get that car cleaned up, that takes a while.
It does.
At the same time though, if, people stop using them because, you know, it's not as much of a disadvantage. A vehicle sitting and not being ran isn't good for it either. You know, even if the cost is neutral, right? But a vehicle just sitting isn't good for it either. You know what I mean? Cause if you don't run the engine, things start getting corroded up. So I kinda think we wanna keep it at somewhat of a disadvantage to use, because we still have to have the fleet, there's no getting around it in case somebody needs it. And if you're gonna have it, then you gotta.
But you've also got those instances where maybe there's not a vehicle, or somebody driving, if there's a bunch of people going to a certain event or whatever. And then they still end up driving their own anyhow, or.
But, I mean, they do it now and they don't go with it. More convenient. I get it. I see your point about the middle of winter though too, when you already got the car warmed up and you gotta.
Get into a cool car.
And,
Not very good.
Well, what is our cost per mile right now on a vehicle, you know?
Depends on the vehicle, but, yeah, let me pull up. It's kind of a moving target with our,
Drop in the middle.
yeah, I'm just gonna, no,
Don't pull up the one that Phil likes to drive all the time. The Explorer, that thing probably costs a lot. Did you get the license plate changed on that yet? They even get it personalized.
so, yeah, these are 2022 cost per mile for here, let me just highlight the ones that are fleet. That are, you know, part of the rental pool, because we've got the other departmental vehicles in here as well. Okay, so the ones highlighted in yellow are the ones that people, rent out. So then these are this is what it costs per mile for each of these vehicles in 2022. So, looks like it ranges from 29 cents per mile
That thing needs to be
to
sold.
57.
What's the deal with that?
I think that's the one that everybody loves. No, but,
Can't be, it's gotta be a mile per.
you know, a lot of times that's the one that they're using to go to the schools to visit kids, to do stuff in town, so they're not putting a lot of miles on it, but it's getting quite a bit of usage, if that makes sense.
Well, it's
I
running
think it might
a
be
lot, but
14,
it's not,
like it's almost,
it's not going a lot of distance, but it's running a lot.
yeah, and I'm not sure that that's the one, it might be the 14, it's either this 13 black Malibu or the 14 silver Impala.
Let's just change it from 25 to 30 cents. That looks to me like it's give or take, and, take the 57 out of there, that one is way off track, but you take the other one that probably averages out about 33, it costs us.
That one could have had, that's the primary reason why that cost is so high, whatever these repairs were.
Well, cause Phil, the last time Phil drove it, he broke it. So we got more repairs on it, that's why it's so expensive.
Didn't you take the Mocha?
Yeah, Mocha. Well, that's Black Malibu.
No, Mocha's the next one.
No, when I took it, it was 29 cents, before I took it, it was like 35 cents.
You go through town, you see these.
Was it $434, or $429 accrued before or after you took it?
It took me a long time to do it.
It's actually really cool, I think, how we track the cost on this, we put in activity codes based on the different, expenses, so fuel
Well,
was the one.
I mean, if it went to 30 cents, you would have a basis for doing that. You could say, okay, here's what it costs us to run a person, but we're willing to give you the same, close to the same amount if you choose to take your own vehicle. That totally out of whack, Phil? You're not arguing with me yet.
If I was gonna argue, I'd jump in. You're all right, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, there
Change
is.
to 25 to 30.
I would like to see it change to 30 cents, but, I mean, I don't use it.
Yeah, that's,
Actually, go take
I just always thought it was low, but now after looking through it, it really wasn't that far out of whack.
For those vehicles, you know, the other ones like,
Given
Another
the
thing
state
that's
rep,
Would be excessive, but yeah, 30 cents is.
When you took Mocha, you didn't start mileage, did you?
yeah.
Where's the latte?
so, and then also in this chapter, changing the policy right now, you know, where these departments are coming to finance committee to get approval for sending more than one person to the same meeting or training, just taking finance committee off of that, cause their oversight committee is already signing off on the expense.
If the oversight committee feels it's important, we're not gonna,
Right.
we've never shot me
Makes
down.
sense.
And then just adding, if possible, to this, the hotel bill should be in Rusk County's name, because from my experience, they want it in the individual's name that's gonna be staying in that room. They won't put,
Well, it's kind of what
Company name.
Yeah.
I know, I read it some yesterday.
okay. And then chapter 8 payroll, just updating on that first one, personnel to ad hoc interviewing committee.
Yeah,
$4,000.
Changed just got rid of this wording that the
that's what we're selling into.
payroll change notices that are signed by the personnel committee prior to the change being effective. That's really just not how it's been practiced, so we took that out.
So did you take the, prior to the change becoming effective, out because it's redundant, because obviously they can't.
Well, okay, so payroll change notices, or we call them personnel change forms, PCFs, those kind of go with any sort of payroll rate change, new hires, terminations, etc. So the personnel, and then they go to personnel committee every month, and so Terry signs off on a big stack of them. But
Well, it says,
the change has already been effective.
All the changes on those forms have already gone through a committee. So,
If it's a termination, like, we can't say you can't quit until personnel signs off on this.
okay, I see, so the changes are active the time that their committee signs off on it.
Right.
The personnel committee
if,
approves and signs, so what if the personnel committee doesn't approve and sign it?
well, and he'd be going against a motion made by the ad hoc interviewing committee or his own committee, that's where most personnel changes come from.
If we don't make any payroll changes without the appropriate documentation, so if Ashley comes and brings me a pay rate change for somebody and there's no minutes or anything attached, we're gonna be like, where did this change come from? And she might say, oh, personnel approved it last month. So it could be in the personnel minutes, or this person just got hired, well,
That's bullshit.
then, you know, we know that there was an interview.
There's a signed offer letter, yeah, all that documentation.
So, it really doesn't change our process by striking out those words. I think that having those words in there just makes it kind of confusing.
I don't 100% I know how I feel about the, counter offers, not going to full board, I get the, I get what you're saying.
Like the timeliness.
Sometimes timing is the essence. I don't know what to think. I mean, it probably won't be taken advantage of, but I don't know.
that paragraph too, that last sentence, the finance director or assistant finance director audits and approves all personnel change notices to ensure accurate setup for payroll purposes. We're already doing that, so I'm just documenting that in here. And that's really just to make sure that things are set up correctly in the system, is it just a double check?
So this is also stating that wage increases, increased salary stipends have to go through personnel and finance before they go to county board. I'm reading this correctly.
Yes, upon recommendation of personnel and finance.
My stuff was burning. Yeah.
That worded, do we want it exactly to cover that? The first part of that saying the county board approves all wage adjustments. Reclassifications are upon recommendation of personnel. We want all wage adjustments with the personnel finance for the county board. Right?
Well, I'm reading it as wage adjustments and reclasses upon recommendation of personnel finance.
But it says in reclassifications. Upon recommendation of personnel.
Do you want it to read like upon recommendation of personnel? If finance committee come up, all wage adjustments and reclassifications. Approved by county board.
Yeah, if we want, if the plan is, if the intent of that is to say, gotta go through personal finance first before this county board. Then that first, that second sentence there, that.
Do you, I mean, if we're going that way, do you want to include oversight committee as well? If we're going down that road.
I think most of the wage adjustments are referred to as
Nice road, on it. I think it should go through, but now you're talking four committees.
I just where are we at?
What do you think?
I think we're taking too long.
You still got a bowl full of snacks in front of you.
What's that?
You still have a bowl full of snacks in front of you.
So what's that got to do with it?
Well, we got time.
We might have time.
I know what you're trying to do is keep my mouth shut for a couple minutes, I was telling you.
It didn't work.
Well, nobody's got anything to add to that, all that red up there? I mean, do you think a wage increase should go to the person, or the oversight committee first before it goes to personnel and finance?
Or a lot, in the past, a lot of times, you know, at finance, I don't know if personnel does, but we'll be like, have you went to your oversight committee with this, right?
But it should be in there. It should start at the oversight committee, should it not?
I think it should, because the oversight committee should know those positions the best of any committee. They can make a solid recommendation if they feel it's justified to personnel and finance.
Cause we've sat here already and questioned things like that, and go, did it go through this committee, did it go through that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We ask it.
I would agree.
Okay, so how about this? All wage adjustments, including reclassifications, must be approved, or should be approved or sent to,
Must be approved by the oversight committee, personnel and finance before final approval by county board.
you say, appear with human resources, if that person doesn't happen to be there that day that somebody's in, is that, shouldn't we have an alternate there, like yourself, for instance, or payroll or
Sure.
something?
Or kinda like it is right now, where we don't-
Right.
Well, I guess now we have, the temporary.
Yeah,
Well,
but we,
she's not doing onboarding, she's not here reliably enough.
or the payroll department. Or the finance department, I should just put finance department.
Would it be that much to ask the department head to give them the W4?
Well, a lot of times they have tax questions, you know, should I claim 0, should I claim 1, and we don't give tax advice, but we can at least answer those questions, whereas a department head probably couldn't.
And the W-4 contains information that the department head shouldn't necessarily be privy to, as far as someone's filing status, their social security number, et cetera.
And you guys have to see that anyways for payroll, so.
Right.
And they might have sensitive deductions as well, that a department head shouldn't know about.
The department head can give them a formula, right? And they turn it
Well,
in.
since I've been temporarily doing HR, I send all of that information, Emily sends all that information ahead of time, so they have it when they come in to meet to try to expedite the process.
So they could just come up with it and then.
What's that?
They could just come in with it already filled out and handed
Yeah,
out.
I know a lot of people do. Some people come out with half the forms filled out, cause the other half they had questions on, just depends.
People like me. I fill out what I got and then I leave a couple.
Yeah.
Well, and some people haven't filled out a W-4 for a very, very long time, because they've been at their previous job for 10 years, and they changed the form in 2020, so it's very different from what it used to be.
Yeah, I've been at my place for 14 years, but I redid some stuff on mine and I went and I'm like,
Why can't I claim 0 anymore?
yeah, and then they start asking extra questions like, you have a second job and all that kind of stuff is on there now, which is a good idea. But then
Yeah, but you kind of have to get your tax
I
account involved.
knew the old, system better, so I knew, and then I didn't have the other one. When it came tax time, I was break even. I like to get a couple dollars back.
So you can buy more candy bars.
Exactly. And I know you're giving the government an interest-free loan, but you never see the money, it's easy to save.
So I just changed that with human resources or their designee. That's okay with you.
Any more we need to do there?
No, I just changed the payroll time, due times from 9 AM to 10 AM, because that's what it is in Zoom. Yeah, and I took out approved the issuance of a paper check stub by the, like, I don't really need to approve somebody getting a paper check stub. They don't. I mean, I make sure it's set up in the system properly that they would get that, but. Purchasing policies, this is where we made quite a few changes. This first section here, we used to have central supply, we got rid of central supply, each department just orders their own supplies, so we just took that out. I can't remember, cause I swear we left off the meal thing, but maybe we just skipped over that. We only put it properly. So, providing some clarification that it's individual equipment item purchases over 1,500, require property committee approval, because it we were kind of going back and forth, is it like the total purchase, or is it just per item? Because we were kind of, in disagreement when the sheriff's department purchased some tactical watches, the total purchase was over the 1,500, but each individual item was less than that, so.
And then the whole discussion brought up about ammo and everything else. Yeah, I remember that now.
So,
The highway one, is that worded right? With a complete unit value exceeding 500,000, shouldn't it be up to 500,000?
yeah,
I thought that one got raised up here several years back, and that's.
And I
that's a lot
don't know
of
that we
money.
can really change it like this, cause now I didn't realize before that it's referencing a resolution, so we can't just change that from 300,000 to 500,000 without amending that
But then the
resolution.
intent of that resolution was just redone, wasn't it? Because it was 300,000, and the problem was county trucks were costing more than 300,000 just to get a truck equipped. That's why it got raised. I think it was just recent.
Yeah.
No, they want to increase it from 300 up to 500.
I think maybe you guys talked about it at highway.
We did talk about it, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we would need to take a resolution to county board though.
But it's, either way, the resolution's gonna have to say up to 500,000.
Yeah.
Or change the old resolution.
Cause exceeding 500,000, that's the sky's the limit, depends on the dollar amount to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just highlighted that in yellow because I'd have to update the resolution number, but I think we could probably bring a resolution to county board at the same time as we bring these updates. To increase that amount, and it's on the highway agenda for Monday. But I'm not sure if Scott's aware that needs to be through resolution.
Was the appraisal done a while ago?
The what?
The appraisal done for Jez and Doty? Wasn't that done a while ago?
Just got.
It just came in.
We did a separate appraisal for Gates and Fritz, and that's maybe what you're thinking of.
Yeah, it probably is. Okay.
Yeah, so then, guideline for quotes and bidding. We kind of tried to provide some more clarification there.
So for instance, like software and service purchases don't fall under public works according to state statute, so we wanted to add guidance with that, cause we didn't have any up until that point, like when Bugs needs software, he doesn't really have any guidelines to follow, so this kind of clarifies that. And then for equipment purchases between 2,500 and 5,000, we put, 2 written quotes, and then anything over 5,000 is dictated by, state statute.
Should be done at a separate meeting.
And then kind of centralize where the bids are kept, with the exception of highway projects and forestry timber sales, the clerk's office is the hub.
Can we back up a little bit here on the, where we're talking about individual equipment, item purchases over 1,500? At the bottom there, it says funds from sold property shall be evaluated and receipted by the finance department or approved by the property committee. Question remains, where does that money go?
That's why it either needs to be approved by the property committee as to where it should go, or it comes to me to figure out what was the original funding source for this and make sure that the
I think
proceeds
it was
go to
the
the proper budget.
original intent that it went back to the count, or to the general fund.
So that's why it would come, so, if it's approved by the property committee to go to the, like, say, the equipment fund, then, I don't need to sign off on that, but, and it also has in here, like, above it, the sentence before, no used equipment shall be traded and disposed of or sold without property committee approval, with the exception of obsolete or damaged beyond repair electronics as determined by the IT department. So I believe at that point in time, when property is approving the sale of that, that's when it would be decided where those should go. But if it's something that was purchased with like grant funds to begin with, I need to make sure that the proceeds from the sale goes back to those funds.
Is there not CRM, you have the invoice number?
Yeah, just a second.
We have another meeting before county board to do this financial procedure. What is it,
What's the invoice number?
0102-143.1.
Shoot, sorry, certified
certified refrigerant and mechanical. And also maybe Northwest Refrigeration, Metropolitan.
Is it, how much is it? Or it doesn't say,
It
what is it,
doesn't say, and that's what I was wondering.
what is it for? What's that,
It's worth, house have no heat, Ford 323, arrived at location, checked in with manager, replaced an indoor blower motor while doing so. I found that the heat exchanger has 3 holes in it,
Yeah.
need to be replaced. Blah, 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 came, 925, came, said replace heat exchanger, west.
So there should be a second page to that, is it just not printed in there? This is the second page right here. But it's 4,900.
Oh, you know what?
It kinda looks like it might be a.
Yeah, sorry,
No, that's okay.
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll see it in my email. I know there's something in email.
So then we, kind of clarified some stuff in the bids, what needs to be included.
What if the bid is more than 5,000?
Oh, scroll up to the statute, Jamie, or, right, so in that,
Statement that statutes dictate how this can be done.
I got it.
No, that's what I'm gonna see it back. These are a little, yeah, we'll get it signed.
No, Randy has the one that gets signed,
Oh, okay.
the bill,
I'll keep it.
they were talking about bills.
Bills, this one? Yeah, well, we didn't approve them yet.
Yeah.
Those 2 bills go together. I put them on the same, on 3 pages down.
So you messed up all the papers, so.
Oh, I'm thinking somebody was signing and flip-flopped them around.
I don't know if you guys still have questions on this, if you want me to just keep moving, So then some of the other, in the purchasing policy, I think wherever this originally got copied from, we must have copied it from some village or town because village clerk and treasurer was listed in there, so we changed that to project manager.
What's the problem with copying and pasting?
So, just kinda changing formatting there, that's all. Nothing with the budgeting process. Just wording, or changing spelling.
That's a question for
I can't
Jamie.
see for sure, but I gotta see.
What was the question? What was your question?
I didn't know, you're, got other things going, go ahead.
Chapter 17 grants, just kind of updating the wording as far as when the contract grant approval form is needed. And the order of when it's supposed to be done and keeping things in the clerk's office. I don't think we changed anything. Just updating wording with human resources, now that we have that. And open enrollment. And having changes in inventory and assets come to the finance office rather than the county clerk's office, since, we maintain the inventory of assets for audit and insurance. Yeah, are you guys good with that, forwarding that to county board next
This
month?
needs to be sent to the county board then?
Yes. Do you want me to put it on the agenda for this committee next month again?
So
Well,
that
you
we
could, and
could change those amounts.
anything else comes up.
Change well, yeah, but those amounts won't actually go in the financial procedures manual,
Oh, okay.
but I'm gonna put that on the agenda. I can put it on there, if you guys don't wanna look at it again, we don't have to look at it again.
Tony and I wanna go through it again.
I would suggest when you start anything.
He doesn't wanna go down
any
that
policies, things like
road.
this, rather than sitting here taking up half our finance meeting time, we ought to have just a special meeting for this. Just have a meeting for taking up the financial procedure manual. Sure,
Kinda got it done.
I mean,
I know it is, I'm saying in the future.
Okay.
along with all the budget meetings and.
So, okay, you're gonna bring this back then next month?
Yeah, I'll put it on there, and if you guys have questions, otherwise we'll just,
We can, forward it to the board then.
okay.
Number 6, LATCF request to forward.
And I don't have anything for that, because we don't know what the comprehensive plan would, what we wanna use for that.
What is that?
Black Path, local area county tribal assistance fund. It's similar to ARPA, except there's no sunset on when we have to spend those funds, we have $100,000.
So you don't.
And there was less restrictions, right?
Yeah, so we were thinking that that would be a good funding source for the comprehensive plan update. But since we aren't ready to set an amount of how much we wanna spend on that.
Okay, now, is there a sunset on that money? No?
Do you think it would be better to use ARPA for that than NICAP because of the sunset law?
Potentially, it's just that, it could take years to update the comprehensive plan, and we only have till the end of 2024 to allocate money for ARPA. We have till the end of 2026 to spend it, but what if we allocate $60,000 for the comprehensive plan update, but then I'm only end up spending 10? What do we do with the excess?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But there is an ARPA resolution that, I printed for you guys. Randy has the one to sign there. That's what property had approved for the restrooms at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, so Gary did call me about this too, and said he wasn't gonna be able to be here to present it, to let everybody know, went through property. I did ask him though, cause I brought up like the, being used in Texas and being used in Nicole, if he had checked into that, and he had thought there was some stuff around the state that used it, but I asked if at the finance committee, if we asked him to dig into it a little bit more on that end, to see if there's some other places around here using it, if there was a time sensitive issue on it. And he said, no, I mean, it's not gonna happen next month anyways.
So I could put it back, I'll bring it back next month. I'll put a new date on it for finance committee approval. Cause we have another finance committee meeting before county board anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I can email him or if somebody else wants to, doesn't matter, and just say, hey, can you do a little more to get into that? Just to make sure that we don't, I mean, it'd save a lot of money over the other bathrooms, but if they're not designed for the cold.
Well, maybe ask him to have an update on that at the next property meeting, cause there'll be a property meeting before the next finance meeting too.
Was there a bid or anything on this, or is it just a?
They're kinda like mobile,
Remember what they're called?
Like $8,000 for
that's something, that's
I think 75.
75,000 for those.
Yeah, extra, I don't know what they're called, like, pull it
You found them on Amazon.
up. No.
I think he said,
No, I think they are.
I think he told me Amazon,
I
I'm
had
not
one
lying.
too.
Let me see here, it's on prop.
Okay, I'll try. What do we call it, like,
There's some place in Texas,
Or the
wasn't it?
bathroom, I don't know.
rebuilt,
They are,
Here. Cherry.
$78,000 a piece of them.
yeah, Cherry Industrial, we have a little, well, that's a food try to,
Yeah, okay, so it's a Bass Stone portable restroom
That's
with
done, yeah,
showers.
that's
It's on
done.
sale right now, Phil, for $7,000.
Okay, so he said that today, he did say the only thing that they went down to $7,000 when they were 7,500 before, and he didn't know if that was a Black Friday special or what that was. So he said that'd be the only issue with potentially waiting, is maybe they go back up to
So
75.
you can get handicap ones.
But at the
and you
same
can get
time,
one with showers, and you can
I
get
think
one
it's worth the
with-
risk of saving $3,000 to have a little more research done into it.
No,
I agree,
You go down.
because in my,
There's one
in
with
my
showers,
opinion, these
too.
aren't built to withstand the harsh
yeah,
Wisconsin
it's just like a
winters.
shower.
So would we need
The
to
restroom and-
unhook them for the winter and then
Yeah.
put them inside the multi-purpose building or something like that? I think, yeah, more research is.
I mean, what was it, 8 of them? So, is it 8?
Yeah, thought so.
So at the, so even if it went up $500 a piece, and we spent $4,000, but we didn't spend $90,000 and find out they didn't work for us.
Right. I think it's worth a little more research.
So are these all plumbed in? Or-
The plumbing is ready to hook up.
Yeah, so our request,
Well, I'm talking about our ground, you know, do we have to dig lines?
they would go to the, on the existing slab where the
Right.
restrooms currently are there right now.
They'd have to take the slab and make it a little bit bigger.
and they still have to hook it up and stuff, and by the time all said was said and done, they figured about $90,000. As compared to the state approved bathrooms was,
300.
yeah, a few hundred.
Well, I did,
So if it worked, but then you got the side of, let's double check and make sure that they work.
You have to have the state give the approval.
right, and the state approved bathrooms could double as a storm shelter. Whereas portable bathrooms couldn't.
Right.
That's another thing to think about. We wanna make sure that the campers are safe out there.
Is the current bathrooms a storm shelter right now?
No,
There's a storm shelter out there.
there's not.
Under the, I thought under the grandstands.
Actually, I think I remember hearing that too.
I would definitely not take shelter under those.
Right, no.
But
I thought Tom Hall said there was nothing right now.
I don't think there's anything.
Well, at one point, we looked into potentially getting a grant or something to make a storm shelter bathroom, but it seemed like it was
Chippewa County did that.
taking up too much room or something. And that wasn't feasible for what we had out there.
So what are we gonna do with this resolution?
Let's just,
Have-
we'll
Hold on,
Postpone till
table
next
it,
month.
yeah, and
postpone.
have Gary do a little more research on that. If it's been used in Wisconsin, if we can see how they've done it.
So we've got approved invoices.
I'll move.
Got a motion by Tony to approve,
It was.
No
Mr.
questions?
second.
Yeah,
Second by Al. Well, I had a few questions here, let's see. If I can find them here. Under access security, there's 4 or 5 entries here, but is that a duplicate, or you've got a 57, 29, 27,909, 75, and then 27,909, 75, is that?
They did progress billing. So they billed us in chunks
Okay.
for the project. I think there were 4 or 5 total.
Yeah, cause we paid 50% down here, and then progress bill, and then final payment.
That's for our camera system.
Oh, okay. We paid, can't even think of their names, for the jail, actually, we paid them quite a bit of money already, haven't we?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what have we got so far?
We have drawings and,
Yeah,
But
that was
see,
one of my,
they-
171,000.
right, but they
That's what
can't
we
give you
got.
floor plans unless you pick a option,
I
you
think
know?
it's more than that, if I ain't mistaken.
Burnett County, 63,000. What did we hire them for? DMA labor, machinery, material, do you remember what that was, Jim?
No, I missed last highway. I'm not sure, I was wondering the same thing, to be honest with you.
Something on State Highway 27, so I don't know.
Yeah, it says South
It was kinda strange that
27.
they got Burnett County coming down here.
Looks like seal coating and chip sealing.
27. Where'd they do that?
So DMA is something maintenance agreement, what does the D stand for?
What's it's north of town?
Yeah, chip seal, state hydrants and chip seal.
And that's all the hours it looks like is different.
Is it deferred maintenance? Deferred maintenance agreement, is that what the D stands for?
And what's all the equipment?
It seems strange to me to have Burnett County down here doing work on Highway 27.
Are we not able to do chip seal? I don't know.
No.
So that's probably why.
But why, that's still confusing, cause if it's a state road, why would it be billed to us?
Because we do the maintenance on it. The state pays us to do maintenance on their roads.
Well, it's fine and dandy as long as we're getting.
So what did we do?
paid for this.
We get like an allocated amount.
So we hired Burnett County to.
Yeah, because we can't chip seal, we don't have the equipment to do chip sealing, so that's my assumption as to why we hired Burnett County to do it.
Well,
for us.
there's stuff here from Washburn, Varner, did the ceiling. Washburn had a roller, Aaron had a chip spreader. But how the hell did it come to that amount?
So the 63, it was, 63,897.91, so this is the invoices that they're billing us for, 57,000.
The expensive one was the seal coat.
Yep, and then the oil, seal coating, oil and application, and then.
Yeah, the most
equipment.
expensive there, Randy, is $56,474 for Varner asphalt sealers. Seal coating, oil and application.
There you go.
So it didn't all go to, it's kinda put in there, arse backwards. Probably should've been listed more Varner than
But
Burnett.
we made a payment to Burnett.
Yeah, it
Well,
just
the
struck me
people went to
funny as
Burnett.
having
Okay.
Burnett County.
I wonder, maybe it crossed, I don't know.
Well, it didn't cross county lines, cause that'd be Sawyer and Marion, huh?
I can't remember. I got it this morning.
That's a long ways to bring trucks too, plus you're paying travel time on those trucks. That one's got a little baffled, it's not.
You want me to email you this invoice?
That'd be nice.
Okay.
You're gonna email us?
ESRI for, enterprise license for 28,400. What is that?
Esri net? Which department, Randy? Which department,
You probably
Um,
can't.
or which budget
Just
is
the
it?
prepaid items.
Oh, prepaid, okay, so that means we're paying for something this year that's for like next year's services. So that looks like an annual,
Says enterprise license.
yes, so that's something for land.
It's zoning, isn't it?
Yeah,
Software maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
a
our zoning
software. subscription. Enterprise agreement, fee software maintenance. So it's some software that they use for, zoning and land information, conservation.
I wonder if that's something every year?
Yes, yeah, this year's was 28,400 last year, or sorry, this is for 2024. 28,400. 2023 cost was 27,500. 22 was 27,500. So it looks like it increases every 3-ish years.
It's our GIS mapping software.
Okay. There was one there, funny, the north face, 127 uniforms, hooded sweatshirt.
Yes, that is one that
Jails.
we questioned as well. It was a jacket that was purchased for a jailer dispatcher. I can follow up with that again. That individual was told that that is not an allowable uniform purchase and that he is to return the jacket. And as of, was it last week? He has not yet returned it, but we will follow up on that.
So we wanna deny that one and, we approve the bills? Based on, we're basically sending it back to,
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
other one I had to bitch about was Amazon for $329 boots.
Yeah, I saw that.
uniform fund and allowable expense. Probably say tactical.
What,
I think there should be a maximum.
what's
on
Robert gonna
boots.
say?
I know boots are expensive, but,
We just said a maximum.
I think I could live in a pair of $200 boots for myself. Anybody else have any other questions?
If they want, spend more than that, let them pay the difference.
Pay the difference, yeah.
Yeah, so at the American Inn, it says there's rodeo lodging, what that's for.
So the fair pays for lodging for so many of the people that run the rodeo as part of their contract.
So the contractors that come here and help out with the.
Yeah, I think it's for barns. They're the ones that run it.
Just include that in the price of the contract?
No, because especially when they operate with governments, they know we get a government rate with hotel rooms, and so, it's part of, they could add another $200 per night on, but chances are we can get a better rate. And sometimes when they have those events going on too, I'm sure that they have trouble finding lodging. So if we're responsible for making sure that they have a place to stay, that it's just one less thing. But yeah, that's just the way the contract is written.
Looks like Venture Architects is getting a little bit more than the IRS rate for mileage. That is a lot of trips in there, $300.
They're based down in the Rockies, so.
Okay. I didn't know we were gonna get charged mileage on top of what they're taking fees for their services at $50,000 a month.
Anybody else have any more questions? If not, we do have a motion and a second to approve the.
With the exception of the North Face purchase.
Yeah. Or, do we pay it and ask for
I
reimbursement?
mean, it's already paid on the credit card, but
So approved, but with the recommendation that the employee returns it or whatever.
I think the alternate solution was that they were going to have the person patch the logo off of the jacket.
Patch the logo off the jacket.
So like put the sheriff's office logo over the North Face logo was the alternate. Because there's a good chance that that jacket at this point cannot be returned, I would think.
Right.
It's likely it's already been.
He's already been told to bring it back to return it, and he hasn't, so that's.
So then what happens though if the next employee's like, well, I can just patch over the north face side?
Not yet.
Well, all purchases are supposed to run through the sheriff or his designee, so I'm guessing that this will not happen again.
Are we sure?
Never
Things
sure.
have been quite an issue lately with purchases in the sheriff's department.
Cause if we go down this road, then we're opening up that.
4 lane, buddy.
I just, I'm sending them an email saying, good evening, finance committee is questioning the place purchase from the November payment approval report, can you please provide an update on that return, because we did have an email trail going on it already.
That's something we need to, next meeting, we need to discuss the procedure, or at least go through it again, when things like this happen. Is there anything in there black and white? It
It
sounds like our
does-
hands are kinda
yes,
tied when somebody abuses something.
Hold on, because most of this stuff happens on a purchase card. Because otherwise it would have to be a batch too. So there is we are having some issues with some departments that are not getting invoices turned in timely, that are purchasing things on their credit cards that, you know, really aren't necessary.
Shut the card off.
Well,
That's what I
you
wanna
guys-
see in the
yeah.
financial manual.
It's in
What's
here.
that?
Can we talk about, we should have a meeting where we come up with, we have the financial procedures, but we need to have a meeting to discuss what happens if you don't follow them.
But it
Somebody
is in
mentioned
here.
that.
Where
Who was
is it?
that? Tony Johnson.
The finance committee may cancel any department's purchasing card if misuse is determined. And I mean, there are some departments where it's like, they're months behind on providing credit card invoices. They're purchasing
But-
things.
We almost wanna give you direction on that.
Oh, right.
Because otherwise you're gonna
Oh,
get,
absolutely.
you're gonna be sitting in the crap seat,
Mhm.
or.
I mean, there's departments that, you know, aren't careful with how they pay their invoices, and sometimes the same invoice gets paid twice because they paid on their credit card once and they forget, and they pay it again, and then have to get a refund, and then we're trying to hunt them down to get everything properly entered in so we can account for all of it.
Well, we need to address that for both boards somehow.
It's already existing in the, you know.
We just gotta start enforcing it.
But yeah, you guys do have the authority to do that. It's in chapter 6.
But, either it hasn't been enforced in the past, maybe we need to send a memo and say, hey, here's procedures we get, you know. It's your job to understand the procedures, but sometimes people forget and it's been a while, but here's a reminder about this portion. And if you're not doing that, we're gonna start shutting cards off. The finance committee is directed to maybe have it on, the next meeting.
Oh, I was threatening one department head this week that.
Yeah, so, but maybe have it on the next meeting, on the next committee meeting, and then you can say it came out of the committee, it was on the agenda. And, they directed me to, you know, start enforcing this a little bit.
Do you want me to put something specific to that on the agenda next month, or?
And maybe all their future purchases should come through finance before they can be approved.
Well, and that's what this one department had that paid a $5,000 invoice twice with their credit card. I said, you know, if you take your credit card away, that won't happen anymore because it'll have to go through the normal check process before it
Blame it on
gets
Phil.
paid.
Tell him Phil's not happy. Phil's not happy in finance. Tell him. He's tired of going down this road.
But,
It is easier if we give you that direction, because otherwise you're gonna deal with the.
I mean, and for the most part, if we just remind them, and nobody you don't wanna have to shut anybody's credit card off, but it's really frustrating when it's the same people over and over again.
You don't have to.
Yeah, and the people that are doing it probably wanna do the right thing, but maybe the effort hasn't been put into it, because the seriousness of it hasn't been understood. So if we come out with something after the meeting and say, hey, I understand why this is an issue and we gotta do something about it. Might,
So what do you?
yeah, at that point, we might never have to do it, cause people are like, okay, they're gonna enforce that, or the first person that it happens to. You know, after that, I think everybody else is gonna be like, we should probably.
Keep it up, we're gonna hire a credit card moderator.
You want the same thing?
Well, and it's not necessarily Amy's job to go find, hunt people down and see if they're following procedures either, it's just if we notice them.
Right,
Yeah, I can do that.
so do you want me to put something on the agenda that says like discuss
Yeah.
cancellation of?
Yeah, I think you should.
Of department credit cards for misuse.
Put your X out.
Okay, any other questions on the vouchers? If not, we do have a motion and a second to approve them, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Motion carries.
Any more out of county travel? Treasurer's report, which is gone.
No, she
Save
didn't
it for
say
you.
anything to me at all.
For the last,
The
grand finale.
The last piece is your mouth, is that good?
Ashley, anything that you wanna report on your?
Yes, I don't have anything from personnel or joint management, but for ad hoc construction, we saw the budget numbers come in, at 2 county board meetings ago, I believe this morning at the construction committee, that committee set a budget of 25 million and asked, Samuels and Venture to cut the number of beds. So we will meet again in January to see what they come back with.
25 or 35?
25. And then as far as the hospital and nursing home building transition, just a few issues kind of popping up there. We had a significantly high water bill. It was about $12,000.
What period of time was that?
That was for the last quarters, so
July
July,
27th, October 27th.
something in there, yep.
What's that total?
What's that?
What's the total on that water bill?
It
Take your,
was 11,000 and some change,
Yeah, let me look it up.
top of my head.
So the Haas is, they're doing the asbestos and stuff out there now?
Yes, so asbestos abatement is ongoing right now. The last I heard from the facilities manager, they expect to be done with that by about Christmas time. And then I would assume from there, the actual demo process would start.
You said ad hoc said at or below 25 million?
They just had a budget of 25 million.
If they contacted about that $11,000 bill,
Have I been contacted?
were they, was Haas,
Yes.
did they agree to it or not, or what?
No, he thought it was also astronomical.
They weren't in that part of it.
And he, we asked, what would the, implications be if we turned the water off out there, and I said, can we turn off the water to the toilets and the sinks, and he said, absolutely, our staff is not supposed to be using your facilities, we have facilities provided for them, but he said it would impact the asbestos abatement process, so he suggested to Gary that they turn off some valve, and then when the asbestos company needed water, they would just hook a hose directly in there, and then use it that way, rather than having water to the entire building.
Shut off at a certain point.
Yeah.
Were they going to do that?
What?
Were they going to do that?
I believe Gary did do that last week.
Did the city, or not city, did Marshfield get bills like that? Or is that just abnormal?
No, that was very abnormal. Our normal, quarterly water bill up there was like $1,900.
Close to $2,000.
Yeah, about
Yeah, maybe.
just under 2,000. So no, that was a very abnormal bill, and the facilities manager seemed to think it was due to running toilets.
And then, what about that, we had some discussion, I think, maybe last month, about that garage that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know if you were gonna contact him or Rich.
Oh, so Jamie and I, called Cheryl from RCTC. So RCTC has the other half of the forestry garage out at Highway. They've got 4 bays there, that's where they work on their trucks. So we called Cheryl and asked if they would be willing to let us use one of their bays to park the ambulance in. And, we met Tom Hall out there last week, or Monday.
This week.
Oh god, that was this week, okay. And yes, we are using, on the north side of the building, the farthest west bay is where Tom will be parking our backup ambulance for Lady Smith, so we have that all figured out.
Yep, and it's all ready to go too.
And
Tom said he's
the,
gonna.
But then also, what I was getting at.
What's that?
Emmy Van go out there too?
No, she'll have to put it back in the parking lot.
That garage that's out at the hospital.
Yep.
Maybe I misunderstood, but were we looking at maybe changing our minds about tearing that down and keeping?
No, that's within the scope of the bid, we can't,
Okay.
yep, that has to go.
You could explore the possibility of buying it from them.
We own it.
Change our.
We own it.
But
What
they're
do you
under
mean buy it
contract
from
to tear it down, so I mean, we could buy a portion of that contract out.
Well, I think we could probably do a change order maybe, right? If that was something we wanted to do, but otherwise.
I'm not sure we wanna keep,
If we don't want it torn down.
I would agree, I don't
Somehow.
think we need another building, but
yeah,
I think that'd be the only option, right, is we did change order to a bid.
probably. But there's some valuable equipment in that garage that Haas might be banking on selling or scrapping out.
So a change order, they'd have to agree to, correct, or?
Right, that's my point, is that they might,
So they might
like
say,
not.
yeah, they might say it costs us more.
Or yeah, the price goes up because we're not gonna recover as much on
Right,
scrap.
cause part of the bid was based on them,
So,
anything they salvage or whatever.
And there was no longer heat in that garage either with
Correct,
the
there
demolition,
wasn't.
so that doesn't solve Tom's problem. So,
Okay, well, I thought that, what I gathered from the discussion was that maybe the county could use that thing for storage or lawnmowers or something out there. Maybe I misunderstood it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's possible, but like Jamie said, it's not heated. And the point of having heated storage over the winter is so you don't have to winterize everything and then, yeah.
Okay, anything else then, Ashley?
No, I think that's all.
Okay. Anything on your report, Connie?
I got training coming up. We're training on we got an email from the state saying that there's envelopes coming in with fentanyl on them. So,
Did like county.
part of our training for this.
Special order.
Is going to be the Narcan training as well.
Just go home.
That's the training here on the 28th, was it?
And I thought that would be, Lisa met with me today, so we're gonna do stuff like that, and, emergency plans for all the, municipalities, town hall and I went through all that. MOU, Rich looked at that, and then. we have 64 marriage license, we had dog license, for the new year given out last night, we went through the treasure training, but that's kind of where we're at.
Anything on yours, Jamie? Our sales tax was up nicely again.
yeah, that was up,
First business combination, Surgeon, the big ones.
yeah, thanks. No, just working through all the different insurance renewals, those kind of all come in, it just seems like I finished one and I get another one, right now it's the storage tank renewal, working on the volunteer insurance renewal. Working on getting I should be able to upload it tomorrow, the final budget document. Rich and I have not heard anything more from Brian at Expert Billing, the old ambulance billing company, so I think you guys need to direct Rich to proceed with litigation, just so we can get our data.
Can we make that motion now or direction?
not under action and possible motion, so I think I'll have to put that for next month. Don't you
Well,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
but it's more of a report.
think?
Yeah, let's put that on next one.
Okay, next meeting date, we wanna meet same time, or next month?
Work for me. Tony doesn't like it, I can tell. He's getting tired.
Could be a little earlier.
The 21st, so that would be after county board,
It's
actually.
the 19th, yeah.
Do we wanna do it on the 14th? December 14th, so we'd have it before county board?
Any other meetings going on in here?
When do we meet, when's county board meeting, December?
The 19th, so HHS is on the 14th, but we did it in the afternoon, theirs is at 8 AM, so, or. We did not do the county board.
14th.
It's the 26th, that's.
14th works for me.
I kinda like having the meetings done early in the month, I don't know why, but psychologically it feels better even though it's the same amount of time in between.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's like, yeah. 16th this month, 14th next month. Okay, so the 14th at 3?
Is that okay? 14th work?
Good for me.
Do you guys want me to send you a calendar invite?
Yeah, I don't know about that. That way if I forget to update my calendar when I go home. I'll just have it twice then.
So the 14th, it's
14th at 3, yeah. Is there anything else that anybody needs to bring up? If nothing else, then we will stand adjourned.